response to the latest controversial comments from freshman Democrat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. But the bottom line is it has been broadened to include other forms of discrimination, according to sources. Some prominent Democrats are now expressing frustration.
Fox's Mike Emanuel on Capitol Hill, where some Republicans have been calling for Omar to be removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Omar has said her intent is to question U.S. policies. The president's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, back on Capitol Hill for another closed-door hearing, focusing in part this time on the Trump Tower project in Moscow that never came to fruition. He testified 3 times last week. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell offering a warning to Democrats.
The politics of presidential harassment hasn't worked out too well. I remember when we decided it was a good idea to impeach President Clinton, and his approval rating went up and ours went down.
Today's hearing laying the groundwork for upcoming testimony from Felix Sater, a Russian-born business associate who worked with Cohen to market the project. Cohen heads to prison in May in part for lying to Congress about the timing of talks on that deal. Singer R. Kelly facing a judge at this hour over missing child support payments, separate from the recent charges of aggravated sexual abuse allegations involving 4 accusers, 3 of them minors at the time.
Y'all just don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
He vehemently denied those allegations during an interview with CBS's Gayle King that aired today. Again, he did arrive in court for this separate issue of missing child support payments. He owes about $200,000. It's not known yet if he was able to make the payments. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Afternoon, I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Upgrades to Olson Park in Fort Dodge are in the works in the near future. Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierick talked about the next step in the process to improve the park yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
The next phase is to redo some parking, put up some fence in the area around the farm stuff is. Get work proceeding on where we're putting back in a little pond or a little water feature in there. One step in the multi-step process to get Olson Park improved.
Fierick says that some of the projects in the bond include improvements to the Blandon Art Museum, Fort Dodge Fire Department, and Harlan Rogers Sports Complex. Due to an unforeseen illness, the Devonshire show at the Wild Rose Casino and Resort in Emmitsburg for Saturday, March 9th has been postponed. Ticket holders can hold tickets to the postponed show, which will be announced shortly, or paid tickets can be refunded at the Iowa store or by calling 712-852-3400, extension number 4406. Iowa is considering new rules to limit school districts from using padded seclusion rooms to discipline children following a violent outburst. The Des Moines Register reports that the proposed changes seek to limit the frequency rooms are used and implement a better system to notify parents. The rules also seek new specifications for the wooden rooms, which are typically 6 by 6 foot. The ACLU of Iowa and Disability Rights Iowa helped draft the changes. They say some districts have used the rooms too frequently, particularly with students with disabilities and African Americans. School officials say they're concerned the rules are overly burdensome. The rooms have come under scrutiny in recent years. The State Department of Education determined in 2017 that the Iowa City Community School District improperly used the rooms. An Iowa House committee has voted to prohibit companies that manage prescription drug benefit plans from forcing patients to get their medications through the mail. Representative Brian Best, a Republican from Glidden, says he's seen mail-order company abuses.
I owned a durable medical equipment supply company, and I saw companies that would sell tons of CPAP devices. You go to somebody's closet, and their closet was literally full of things that they hadn't used. And I think sometimes with mail order, that can happen.
A representative of the state agency that manages Medicaid told lawmakers the state will likely have to spend more if mail order companies can't be used for any of the medications prescribed to Medicaid patients. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 26. Winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Overcast tonight, chance for snow, lows around 6 above. Snow likely tomorrow, 21, cloudy. 1 to 3 inches of snow tomorrow through Friday night. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 26.
Ooh, I love that house.
Yeah, but look whose sign is in the yard. That's not who we're working with.
We don't have to work with them just because they have it listed. Our agent at Neighborhood Realty can show us the house.
They can?
Well, sure, they can show us any house we like, no matter whose sign is in the yard.
Well, then let's call Neighborhood Realty for a tour.
I'm Stacy Weirda with Neighborhood Realty. We can put you in the home of your dreams no matter who it's listed with. Neighborhood Realty, online at neighborhood-realty.net.
Hi, this is Amber at First State Bank. Are you currently enrolled in online banking? If so, are you taking advantage of e-statements? For a limited time, First State Bank will pay you $10 per account that you enroll in e-statements. You will receive the same information as your paper statement, but with the convenience of electronic access and the security of viewing in online banking. Must have a qualifying account at First State Bank. Terms and conditions apply. Visit fsbwc.com or stop into one of our 7 convenient locations to learn more. First State Bank, first for you. Member FDIC.
Iowa hog farmers have a lot to be proud of.
Proud of the quality products we put on tables around the world.
Proud of the strides we make to protect Iowa's natural resources.
Proud of the number of Iowans we're able to employ in safe workplaces.
Proud to protect and promote animal well-being in everything we do.
Iowa pork producers are proud because they do it right. And that's something all Iowans can take pride in.
Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Iowa's pork producers work hard daily to produce safe, affordable food. Through the industry's We Care initiative, hog farmers are firmly committed to doing things right. That means keeping their pigs safe and healthy, safeguarding natural resources, protecting public health, and building strong communities. Producers fully understand the importance of pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement. It's the moral and ethical thing to do. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
God, I envy how mindless your job is.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. The sun is out. A little snow is melting. I think I'm in the mood. The mood to rock and roll. Yes, I am. And my guest is here to burn it down with me. And he is, of course, City Councilman Terry Mickey. There he is right there, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, Mickey?
I was flashing back to my grade school days when I was listening to AM radio late at night.
Yeah, that's right.
From Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah. KOMA.
Yeah, way down there. Used to get some pretty good bounce up there in the plains in South Dakota.
Sure. Oh, God, yes. Yeah. They, toward the end, KOMA, toward their news talk station now, of course. It's boring as hell. But they used to have on Friday night, they used to have a call-in show called Desperate and Dateless, and it was a country format. And some guy called in, well, you know, I'm over here in Bug Tussle, and I sure would like a shiny one. I'd like a What else would you like? Well, yeah, just so she's kind of shiny. You know what I mean, shiny?
I'm not really sure what that means.
It took my Midwestern mind a couple of minutes to figure out he was asking for a pretty girl, you know.
Yeah.
But he ought to be able to articulate it a little bit better than that. Hi, you shiny? I'm Bubba. And then they'd play some country song. It hurts to be in love sometimes, or whatever. It was a great show. Too bad it didn't last very long.
Yeah, we should get that back on YouTube.
I guess, you know, but my personal favorite, of course, was Clyde Clifford at KAY in Little Rock, Arkansas, back when Bill Clinton was still there. And so apparently smoked a little dope on occasion. I know up in Algonquin, Iowa, we were violating law a few times. Anyway, our guest is City Councilman Dr. Terry Menke, scholar, poet, warrior, porn star.
I did want to touch on a couple things before you start ranting about
I'm ranting.
Nope,
let's see. Fireworks.
Fireworks.
Judges. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
Let's sign this sucker off and go home.
Yeah, pretty well covered it all. But I did want to talk about the Growth Alliance dinner last week. It was a great event. They're reaching capacity out there, which is a good thing. I want to congratulate Mr. Singer on his award, the Catalyst Award. You know,
Big Bobby.
Bob was the second person I met when I moved to Fort Dodge. His
second person?
Yep. First person was Gary Tucker.
Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker was a real estate salesman at the time, and his wife at the time actually worked with Mr. Singer to kind of cold call everybody that moved into our community. And since that was the early 80s, not too many people were moving in, so she got kind of bored.
Cold call people for Singer's insurance business?
Yep, for the insurance business. So Bob took me out to dinner, and we met over at Hickory House, which at the time was out in front of Target.
Yeah.
And Bob was downtown, and we got a chance to meet him and talk to him several times over the years. And he's been a friend of mine for 40 years. So I congratulate him on that.
Yeah, Bob's okay.
Yep. So I'm glad that he got that award.
I am as well.
He did fail on a promise, though. You may want
Bob failed on a promise?
Yep. You remember when he got kind of voted, kicked out, voluntarily retired from the supervisors.
No, he beat him.
Yeah, but anyway, he came on.
See, that's the perils. See, that's exactly what Andy Fritz did. First, he announced, "I'm not running for re-election." Andy gets on Facebook, having a beer in one hand and giving everybody the bird in the second. Okay, I'm not running. And then he decided to run, and he got beat by 15 votes, and that's been a tragedy for our town ever since.
Anyway, Bob came on your show, and he promised that he was going to devote all of his efforts and time to develop a convention center for Fort Dodge. Do you remember that?
I think I remember.
Yeah.
I remember Dan Payne even talked about that way back when, a convention center for Fort Dodge.
And I think that would be a great thing to do. So I'm going to hold Bob to the fire on that now that he's retired, and we gave him that big award. He isn't dead.
Big award?
Yep. Big award to Catalyst. Big award. So that's basically what I wanted to do. I want to congratulate Bob on his efforts, and Steve Madke from the city too. The electrician got the volunteer of the award, so that was good. Kind of a quiet guy.
It's odd that we have a electrician for a mayor, and we still have a city electrician.
I don't think Matt has the time to go fix all
I'm
the
sure
problems.
he doesn't.
Yeah, we're looking at, actually, I've been kind of working with Steve indirectly with Brett and David, trying to increase the LED bulbs that we're putting through downtown. We did those by the library last year, and it really brightened everything up. And apparently we can convert those street lamps on Central Avenue over to the bulbs, the LED bulbs. A lot less expensive than what it's been in the past because technology is improving. Hoping to get some money set aside so that we can bring in some LED and light up downtown. That was part of our discussion with the downtown group, is that safety and walkability and increased lighting downtown would really make people feel better, safer, and more make downtown more approachable. So I'm hoping
Do you see people walking downtown after 6 o'clock in the
Well, that's
evening?
part of the problem, I think. Well, there's a couple reasons why. First off, we don't have the storefronts for them to walk by and look. And that's another thing we've been looking at, is that taking the empty storefronts and doing something with window displays. But I think lighting.
Man, what are we going to do with a mall, for God's sake? It's actually falling down.
Yeah, that was quite bad. I don't know. I was notified of that. Actually, Nevin heard about it first. I think he was
Nevin Conrad.
Yeah, and then he sent me a text, and I actually drove out there. And by the time I got there, everything was gone, and I really couldn't see much. But there's a lot of those. Even a school, I believe, over in Oskaloosa somewhere had the same thing, a roof collapse. Because there's a lot of snow out there, and it's the thing that bothers me, of course, is that you've got a big flat roof over there at the mall, and that was just one section. You kind of wonder if the rest of it's any better. But
I don't know.
I don't know either. But it was a mess. So. General Gashi, he's the Kosovo consulate director down in Des Moines, is leaving. He's actually going back to Kosovo. He's going to phase out. I met General Gashi a number of years ago when he escorted the ambassador from Kosovo. I talked to him down at Camp Dodge. I remember it was a real hot day, and I was in a black suit, and I sat out there on those bleachers and basically cooked in my black suit waiting to meet the ambassador.
The sacrifices you make, Terry.
Every day.
We had to know that, by the way, so we could feel sorry for you.
Yes, I was hoping that you'd feel sorry for
and
me.
admire your resilience and courage.
I bounced back, though.
To wear a black suit on a hot day.
I think it was kind of foolish on me.
Waiting for a general that Kim Allstott kisses on the lips.
That wasn't General Gashi.
Oh, that was a different general.
That was a different ambassador, too. Yeah.
That doggone Kim's just a kissing bandit, isn't he?
All over.
He's all over.
Apparently, that's what you do in Europe.
You kiss each other on you guys kiss each other on?
It's a hug. It was a hug.
Hug?
Yeah, it was a hug.
No, that's not what you told me.
No,
Derek.
Campbell told everybody it was me, Mark Campbell. And I said, no, it was not me. I walked
in Campbell's version, were there tongues involved?
I'll have to get him on and ask him. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm going to have to text Mark Campbell right now. Listen, when Minky kissed that guy, did he slip in the tongue or what?
No. It wasn't me. Mark was behind me, and I was the first one in. And
Maybe it was Mark slipped in the tongue.
Shook her hand and walked in and sat down. And then, Kim was behind me, and apparently Kim greeted her in the European fashion. And she's,
her or him or
her.
both?
It was
or
her.
What?
It was
her.
they've had a couple different ambassadors that we've worked with out in the Washington, D.C. area. But General Gashi's been there from the start. He is, I don't know if you classify him as a war hero in Kosovo, but he's well respected in Kosovo. He's a very nice man. We've had him here for our Taste of Kosovo last year, and we've worked with him when the consulate was open. We were down there, and he's been up here, and we've met with him, and he's with us in Kosovo last year when we went over. Eric Anderson and Dawn and I were over there, Dawn Larson. So General Gashi's going to be missed. I don't know who they're going to replace him with, but going away, farewell, reception party, whatever it's going to be in April. So I'll probably buzz down there to say goodbye to him because I don't know if I'll ever see him again.
When I was in high school several years ago, we had a foreign exchange student who was from Australia. He was really a...
They talk funny.
Yes, they talk certainly different than we do. But he was in the school play. And to make a long story short, I don't really even remember what the name of the school play was. It was something the kids put on. Anyway, it called for a kiss between the character played by our Australian exchange student and one of the local girls. So I'm sure in rehearsal it was just a little peck on the lips. But during the live performance, he Frenched her. She was a real pretty girl, and he Frenched her. He just grabbed her and Frenched her.
He was acting.
There was an audible gasp that came from the parents,
Yeah. That's like the scene from Dirty Dancing.
Patrick
Swayze and Jennifer Grey.
Did he French her? I don't remember.
No, he just, he's dancing and the dad gets all defensive and stands up.
Lenny Briscoe, That's enough of that.
Yeah.
Quit dry humping my daughter.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, it's one of my granddaughter's favorite songs.
Yeah. I had the time of my life.
Time of my life.
Little double entendre there.
Yeah. I actually was just with some Australians, a father-son duo, when I was overseas with my eye thing here recently. They were there together as part of One Sight, which is a vision organization, large optical company who will remain nameless. They control the world. They have a foundation.
Is that the one that brought you to town, Dr. Menke?
Luxottica.
Exotica?
Luxottica. Yeah, they control about 80% of the eyeglass market.
That's the name of an eyeglass market?
Luxottica. Yep. And then they own Esler Labs. So they basically control the eye stuff. But he works for the foundation. They give back to the, refugee camps and whatever. And they're a little difficult to understand. I mean, they speak English, but it's kind of a different. So, but anyway, that's basically it. Goodbye to General Gashi, nice man, and his family's already back in Kosovo, so he's hanging around, waiting, counting his days to get back there. So, the dam removal, I was down there yesterday. If you haven't had a chance, it is kind of exciting. You can go in on the hydroelectric side, the Loomis Park side. You can get there too, but you got to do a little walking. They have really tame that river. When you go down there, it's not as angry. It's not boiling through.
Not as angry?
Yeah, it's just kind of flowing, and it just looks really pretty.
Keeps on rolling with the flow.
Yeah, pretty serene. They've stockpiled a lot of stuff over on that east bank, over in the Loomis Park area. DNR is a little concerned about the silt that's on the north side of the old spillway, and so they're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, if they're going to make us move that, or if we're going to be able to just wait and wash it down the river. I don't know what the way the water's running. I'm sure it will wash away a little bit. If it doesn't go away, then we'll probably have to haul it out of there and do something. But then they're going to haul that concrete back up to the north and create that J hook, which is basically to stabilize the banks, and will also allow fishing access up there. So that'll be great. Yep. But I was down there watching them yesterday. There's a constant stream of traffic down there. It seems like there's always 2 or 3 cars down there watching them. Again, it had deteriorated to the point where we really didn't have a whole lot of choice but to take it out. I don't think that it was ever going to be revived, and I think it had been since I think 2009 under a repair order from the DNR. So the DNR was going to make us do something with it, and anytime you deal with government agencies, it's best to do it under your terms rather than theirs. We did a pretty good job, I think, getting the bids in relatively low, because the DNR was estimating $2 to $3 million, and it came in just over $1 million. So I think it's going to be a great improvement to the riverfront. It's going to stabilize the banks, and plus we're going to have from the tax, well, it's not really tax credits, stream bank credits that we're getting. We're going to be able to do some more work down on the riverfront. So we're going to do a lot of recreational work, a lot of improvement access for the fishermen and people that like to utilize the river. It's going to be beautiful when it's all done.
Oh, yeah.
I hope we live long enough to see it.
You and me? I
Yeah.
got a chance.
Well, kind of like Olson Park, it's one of those things that you talk about.
Ferrick mentioned it yesterday that we're going to spend money on Olson Park. And
Yeah, well, we've had the money sitting there. The problem was just getting movement on it. We did set a public hearing date for some work down at Olson Park. Several phases that we're looking at, and the first phase was to take the fence out and get the pond more or less filled in and stabilized. And now we're going to continue to work on some internal walkways, the parking lot. We're going to change the road that goes through there. We're going to take that out of there, and it's going to become part of the trail system, which I kind of fought against, but that I didn't have much do with it, I guess.
Mhm.
But I thought we could run it down through the park itself and make it more exciting as a trail, but they wanted to simplify it and keep the cost down, I guess, because it's all about money. So they are going to be blocking
No,
the access.
It's all about appearing to do something without really doing it.
I see. Yeah. But the parking will be accessible off of Olson Park Drive. They're going to cut some easements through the curb down there, create a couple drives in, and then you'll have access to that parking lot up kind of on the north side or by the splash pad. I don't know what's going to happen with the Carl King Band parking situation. We did look at putting parking behind the band shell for the band members and the handicap accessible. But as we talked about, a few weeks ago, the state historical people were a little bit concerned about the trees back there and the fact that the trees would have to be removed in order to get the parking lot back there. So they have redone the parking situation. They're not going to be able to park behind the band shell. They're going to get some parking over by the ravine. But again, that's all going to be kind of phased in over the next few years.
Mhm.
So we're also going to start working on the pond, get some infrastructure in, get some electricity, water lines, and whatever dug from Olson Park over. So that'll all be starting as soon as the ground thaws. The bids are, I think, due at the end of the month, and then we'll meet sometime towards the 1st of April or end of the month or whatever to approve the bids. And then they'll start as soon as the ground thaws.
Mhm.
So you're actually going to see something done at Olson Park, which has only been, a decade or two.
I don't know. They've been screwing up Olson Park for quite a while.
Yeah, but
I
think
tried to
it's-
talk Lutz out of killing the Olson Park pool, but he wouldn't listen to me.
I know it. That's too bad. But again, we're looking at a variety of things down there. And again, I think slowly but surely we're going to get the fencing done. I was kind of hoping to get some type of animal display back down there. We met with Jay Sanchez last week. I don't know if you got a chance to be involved in it.
I did not.
Yeah. Jay was the producer of Fireball Run, which Matt Johnson and Matt Bemrick were both on last year. I guess was it fall of 2017, so it's been over a year. But anyway, Jay was hired by the Convention and Visitors Bureau to come in. He's looking at a variety of options for Fort Dodge, developing and working on economic development, using tourism as the primary focus point. When they came to Fort Dodge, they were pleasantly surprised with what they found here. There's a lot of collections. That B movie guy, what's his name? Sam Arkoff? Is that
Yeah.
his name? Yeah.
Sam Arkoff.
Yep.
Boy,
Roger,
Dad.
Yep. Roger Natty has an extensive collection of his memorabilia. Of course, we got the Carl King Band display, which he did not feel was adequately displayed. He thinks that we can really capitalize on that. And there's some other displays, other memorabilia, other people that have collections throughout town that he thought should be displayed and could actually serve as a driver to get people to come in off of Highway 20 and actually drive into town and spend a little time. With that time, of course, they would be spending money. He says a lot of our events, which is true, are basically geared towards the people that live here. And he seems to think that we can draw people to our community. Obviously, we don't have a Mississippi River or a Grand Canyon to really capitalize on, but he feels like we've got things that people will pay for. So I guess if you got it, your, belly button lint collection, that's the world class.
Belly button lint collection.
Yeah, we could put that on display somewhere. Yeah. So anyway, it was an interesting week for him. He met with a lot of people, a lot of different opportunities are out there. I know he spent some time at the fort. I'm not sure he spent a lot of time at the mall, probably not. But he did look at downtown. He seems to think that downtown needs some sprucing up, and we've been working on that. Chris Patrick with Main Street, and that group has been very progressive in the last year since she came on board. I think you're going to see some work down there. We're working on the facade program up on 10th and 11th. We've got, I think she said 11 or 12 buildings up there that we've got an architect coming into town that's going to assist them. So hopefully we'll get some work done down there in that area, again, to brighten it and make it more walkable. And again, part of those discussions were to bring the lighting a little bit brighter to keep people a little bit safer, feeling safer downtown. So Jay's an interesting man. He's a proponent and he's an advocate for Fort Dodge.
Good. AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello. Hello.
Well, you should have. You sure you don't want an extended warranty?
No,
on your car?
I don't want. Are you calling from the Dodger tap? I had a guy on last Friday. I think it was over at the tap. Thanks for your call. Anyway, Dr. Terry Menke is our guest. We'll be back.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Before we got married, my mother asked me if my wife was going to convert to Catholicism. You're right to laugh. It's a stupid question. I don't know, Mom. Let me go ask. Let me go see if a 29-year-old Jewish woman who doesn't like any of my suggestions would convert to, what was it again? Roman Catholicism? How would I even have that conversation? What, do you come home with a brochure and you're like, hey, honey, allow me to tell you about an exciting, not new organization. Don't Google us. You know that strange look of shame and unhappiness I have in my eyes at all times, especially after sex, and it was all forced on me at birth? What if you voluntarily signed up for it?
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps the most exciting hour of radio in the state of Iowa. That's when Councilman and Dr. Terry Menke is in the studio, and he is right now. Councilman Menke, scholar, poet, warrior, porn star. And he will return after the news.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Afternoon, I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Upgrades to Olson Park in Fort Dodge are in the works in the near future. Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk talked about the next step in the process to improve the park yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
The next phase is to redo some parking, put up some fence in the area around the farm stuff is. Get work proceeding on where we're putting back in a little pond or a little water feature in there. One step in the multi-step process to get Olson Park improved.
Fierk says that some of the projects in the bond include improvements to the Blandon Art Museum, Fort Dodge Fire Department, and Harlan Rogers Sports Complex. Due to an unforeseen illness, the Devonshire show at the Wild Rose Casino and Resort in Emmitsburg for Saturday, March 9th has been postponed. Ticket holders can hold tickets to the postponed show, which will be announced shortly, or paid tickets can be refunded at the Iowa store or by calling 712-852-3400, extension number 4406. Iowa's considering new rules to limit school districts from using padded seclusion rooms to discipline children following a violent outburst. The Des Moines Register reports that the proposed changes seek to limit the frequency rooms are used and implement a better system to notify parents. The rules also seek new specifications for the wooden rooms, which are typically 6 by 6 foot. The ACLU of Iowa and Disability Rights Iowa helped draft the changes. They say some districts have used the rooms too frequently, particularly with students with disabilities and African Americans. School officials say they're concerned the rules are overly burdensome. The rooms have come under scrutiny in recent years. The State Department of Education determined in 2017 that the Iowa City Community School District improperly used the rooms. An Iowa House committee has voted to prohibit companies that manage prescription drug benefit plans from forcing patients to get their medications through the mail. Representative Brian Best, a Republican from Glidden, says he's seen mail-order company abuses.
I owned a durable medical equipment supply company, and I saw companies that would sell tons of CPAP devices. You go to somebody's closet, and their closet was literally full of things that they hadn't used. And I think sometimes with mail order, that can happen.
A representative of the state agency that manages Medicaid told lawmakers the state will likely have to spend more if mail order companies can't be used for any of the medications prescribed to Medicaid patients. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge 234. It's 26 minutes before 3 o'clock. First of all, on the weather, sunny the rest of the day, high 30. Overnight, a chance of snow, mostly cloudy, low 8. Wind chill factor temperatures below 0, of course. Tomorrow, snow is likely, cloudy with a high of 21. Wind chill factor temperatures below 0. On Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 30. Saturday, snow and sleet early in the day, possibly mixed with freezing rain, and then rain through most of the rest of the morning. Our high will be 36 degrees. Sunday, mostly cloudy, windy with a high of 31. Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 30. On Tuesday, snow is likely, mostly cloudy with a high of 34, and that's on Tuesday. Right now, 26 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Marilyn Babbitt, Marilyn J. Dunn Babbitt of Fort Dodge, died on Friday the 1st at a care facility in Sergeant Bluff, Iowa. Services will be held for Marilyn Dunn Babbitt, and that'll happen Saturday, March 30th at Sacred Heart Church here in town. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 236 at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 26 degrees with a look at the closing market report. Here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn down 3.5 at 362.5. May down 3.25 at 372.5. July down 3.5 at 381, and December corn down 2.25 at 395. March soybeans down 11.5 at 889.75. May down 11.75 at 902. July down 12 at 915.75, and November down 11.5 at 936.75. March wheat closed down 13.75 at 440.5. Soybean meal down 380 a ton at 301.80. April live cattle up 7 cents at 128.90. June down 22 at 119.62. March feeder cattle down 22 at 140.65. April down 75 at 143.65. April lean hogs down 82 cents at 57.05. May down 40 at $66. I'm Dwayne Murley.
You can get a complete wardrobe for just $10 at the general store. We're talking shirt or blouse, jeans or dress pants, socks, even shoes. Anything for your wardrobe you can fit into a bag. All for just $10 on the first Wednesday of every month. Stuff your bags full of clothing for everyone in the family. And there's no limit on bags. Remember, all proceeds at the general store go back into our community to help people with special needs. Shop the bag sale on the first Wednesday of every month at the general store, 12 North 25th, Fort Dodge.
Save 11% on everything at Menards. It's the perfect time for a kitchen update. Explore the beautiful cabinets on display and find the style that's right for your home, knowing you can save 11% on all of it. Complement your cabinets with Riverstone Quartz countertop. Complete the project with a perfect faucet, backsplash, and floor. And save 11% on everything now at Menards. Good through March 9th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
We're live on the red carpet, waiting for the next generation credenz soybean. There he is.
Oh, Ed, look, it's Credenz Liberty Link GT27.
I know, Edna. He's got elite genetics.
You gotta love his 4 bushel per acre yield advantage.
And he's both Liberty and glyphosate herbicide tolerant.
Definitely the year's hottest performer. Ask your Credenz retailer about the new Credenz Liberty Link GT27 soybeans.
Grow smart with BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
In today's economy, it just makes sense to plan ahead. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, pre-planning your funeral arrangements can save you money. By planning ahead, you can secure your arrangements at today's prices, no matter when their services are needed. Pre-planning your funeral is one of the most thoughtful things you can do for your family. Call them for details. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
Celebrating life, Historic Bruce Funeral Home.
This is Chris Heslop with Star Energy FS. I understand that time is a precious commodity, especially when it comes to your operation. That's why I am dedicated to be the best at providing business solutions for your operation. FS proudly supports the local communities we serve and is committed to helping your operation continue to run smoothly so that you can spend more time with those you care the most about. Star Energy FS is your local, reliable supplier for fuel, lubricant, and propane needs. FS, the people and the products to take you further.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
God, I envy how mindless your job is.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. If you want to join this program, ask a question, and perhaps the smartest man alive, it's 515-955-1400. I'm talking about Menke, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're talking about. Dr. Terry Menke. Get on board with it. Okay, yeah, and 515-955-1400 if you want to talk to Magic Menke. And ask him a question yourself about God knows what, but there must be something. So you always come in with a lot of stuff over there, Terry. A lot of papers and notebooks, and
I have a combination of things. First
which makes me feel better. When I had a lot of councilmen on, they come in with nothing.
Yeah. Well, I don't have the capabilities of surfing the web like some people. I don't.
Yes, you do.
You won't give me your password, so I don't want.
You are a web surfer extraordinaire.
Yeah, but anyway, I've been doing a little research into
that's
some of
all
these.
I get.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I was looking at some of the House files and Senate bills that are coming up down the line. That's kind of exciting when you.
I'm going to have Matt Cosgrove come in here a little bit later on. Matt's a little upset about a bill.
SB 1221.
Yes, it is. Are you about to talk to us about it?
No, actually, I wasn't, but I know a little bit about it.
What do you know?
Well, I know that they were trying to take away the ability of any governmental agency to utilize the SRF money, the state revolving fund money, anything for any kind of water improvement. So if you had a willing seller, if you had a farmer that wanted to sell property or would be willing to sell property to do improvements on like a stream bank, if you have a lot of runoff, a lot of pollution, a lot of dirt going into the stream, if the county was going to come in and buy that, then the guy could get a tax credit for doing that. And a lot of times the government agencies would take the money that they could get from the state revolving fund, and somebody, I don't know which senator introduced it, but they want to take away the ability of government to use government's money to buy property. And they eliminated, yesterday they had a committee meeting, and they did taken away the tax exemption. They're going to allow the tax exemption to remain. And the other thing they did was that any project that starts before July 1st of this year, they can use SRF money for that. That was taken out of the bill yesterday in committee. But now it's going to go in front of the entire Senate, and they're going to vote on that. So the conservation people, of course, they're with this water quality issue, and you're probably more up on that than I am, but there's a big problem out there. And you've got that next time there's a sales tax increase, that 3/8 of a cent was supposed to go for water quality issues, and nobody's ever stepped up and supported a tax increase. So that money is just sitting there. And a lot of projects and whatever could be done that would really improve the quality of our water in Iowa. And being a heavy industrial farming situation out there in the country. There's a lot of runoff, a lot of chemicals. I know farmers do a great job doing what they can, but again, sometimes there need to be buffers in place to protect the environment, and sometimes it's difficult to finance those.
Well, we had, the problem, of course, is once again, we're being dictated by extremes.
Yeah.
Bill Stowe down in Des Moines,
special interest,
wanted to change the way farming is done in the United States.
Yeah.
Nothing arrogant about Bill Stowe. I mean, my
got nice
God.
hair though.
Ask him if he does. Yeah, he thinks he's a rock star. He's a rock star conservationist.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we have people that say, look, you're just a bunch of nerds. You're just a bunch of academics. We're actually out here in the field working. Shut up.
Yeah.
And, which is, I can kind of buy into that a little bit rather than the Stowe thing.
Yeah. And I think farmers just didn't want to be dictated to, if they felt.
No, they don't. They want to be dictated to by some long hair in Des Moines.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Those of us that have no hair.
Yeah. They'll say, I'm a little envious, actually.
Yeah. But anyway, that's about all I know. But Matt would be a good one to talk about that. I know he was down there, and a lot of the conservation people were down there because this is really near and dear to them. They are always seeking money, obviously, to do projects. And we've had several projects in Fort Dodge and in the county that have benefited from SRF money that would not proceed if this bill goes into effect. So I did contact the people on the committee, and I got a reply back from Nate Bolton, which kind of surprised me. It was a very nice reply.
Why not?
And
why did that surprise you?
Well, because he's the only one of all of them on the committee that actually took the time to send me any kind of response, even though I found out later it was the same response he was sending back to everybody. So, but he opposes the bill. So he
opposes the bill.
Yep, he opposes the bill.
Maybe I should get Nate on.
Yep, kind of difficult. But again, there's a guy.
I don't know. I would frankly ask him. So, Nate, if you had a couple of drinks and put your hand on some privileged woman's butt.
Oh, no.
I mean, Joni Ernst gets roughed up and sexually abused. Old Harley riding, hog roasting Joni. And where's the cashmere sweater crowd on that one? I guess she had it coming, or they're going to be silent. And no.
We need Janice to call in to defend her buddy. Nate Bolton.
Well, Janice, I asked her, and I feel for Janice. I really like Janice. She's cool and
nice lady.
Oh yeah, very cool. I asked her, a month or 6 weeks after the whole Bolton thing blew over. She didn't want to talk about it when it was going on.
Yeah.
And I asked her, and she said she wanted to talk about Bolton. She says, I don't know when I'm going to be ready to talk about Nate Bolton. She said,
well, she knows him on a different
She does. Yeah, they're personal friends. And I think she had great hopes for his candidacy.
Yep.
I think Bolton would have beat, what's her name? Reynolds.
What's her name? Our governor.
Yes, our governor.
Our governor, the first female governor.
But the Democratic Party couldn't help itself. They had to go with the rich white guys. So and they got beat, of course.
Yeah,
and blamed it on Trump supporters.
Yeah, there's a couple fireworks bills down there. I know how much you love fireworks. The first one is Jake Chapman's bill, which would allow everybody in the state to shoot off fireworks on the 4th of July. I don't know if that made it out of committee.
Well, if we can't get guys like Mike Sexton behind that, I guess we can't get it done. No, we can't. Scrappy just won't do it.
Yeah, he's got his reasons, I guess. But there's another one out there. There's another one that was introduced, the House File 611, which is kind of interesting, which takes the dates when you can sell fireworks. Right now, you can sell fireworks from June 1st to July 8th, between December 10th and January 3rd in permanent structures, and then the 13th of June through the July 8th in temporary structures. And this bill basically takes the time frame when they're allowed to sell fireworks to be within 2 weeks immediately preceding the date for which the fireworks are permitted. So in other words, it's going to cut down the sale time from that 6 weeks. Or
so they're trying to choke fireworks
they're trying
off.
to choke it down to 2 week sale time.
Yeah, well, and they're choke off the supply at the source.
Yeah.
I guess we just can't have fireworks anymore.
Yeah. So I don't know. They keep modifying this bill. I don't know why they just.
Who has that bill?
This is the HANUSA. Hansa is the guy's name. Hansa. I don't know. I'm not familiar
Democrat,
with
Republicans.
I don't know. It doesn't say. No. He just apparently wants to cut down, and I can understand his thinking behind this is probably somebody told him that they didn't like the fireworks, and then he just said, "Well, we'll just throttle down when they can get them." And
there's the anti-fireworks lunatic fringe out there, and they just won't give up.
Yeah.
There's people. There's the same 6 people that show up down at council meetings when we discuss fireworks, and their hair's on fire and their eyes are bugged out of their head. and they're just, why won't you do this? They're so indignant and they've identified, as they did, and I guess it's going to come. Fireworks coming up at this next city council meeting. They'll pinpoint and direct their fire at a couple of weak council people and bang away on them until the council people look for a way out.
No, I don't know.
And pretty soon they're going to the city staff saying, "Is there something we can do with the fireworks, Kim? I'm being yelled at. I'm a weenie. I can't handle the pressure." AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Councilman Menke.
Menke, I was wondering if you knew the status update on the Warden Plaza or what's going to go on with that.
Yeah, I wish I could give you good news, but at this point, the National Park Service has ruled or determined that the Wakanza Annex and the Warden project are separate for the historical purposes. So the city is going to proceed, and is actually the GEO bond that we'll be looking at Monday night includes $3 million, up to $3 million to take the Wakanza Annex down. The Wakanza Annex and the Warden do share a wall on that east side. So discussions are being held with KDG, which is the developer that has the Warden Plaza at this point, to determine exactly what's going to happen. Now that they are separate, there should be a development agreement that KDG needs to sign and deliver. That's the same development agreement, you may recall, that we told them last December or January that they had to have, and then we told them in June that they had to have it, and I think we told them in August, and then I think we gave them an ultimatum in September, but basically they haven't done anything. So they are meeting with them. Matt Brown is kind of our intermediary on that, and Matt has been in contact with them. It's my understanding that within 2 weeks, the KDG and the staff and Matt are going to have an agreement, the development agreement in front of us. Once that happens and all the tax credits and everything are in place, as far as I know, the financial stack is pretty well complete. They have not asked the city for any additional funds, and I don't know where we would get them anyway. But I think the process now, they don't have any excuses at this point. So it's time for them to actually do something.
All righty. Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. If you have a question, Councilman Menke, he's here. 515-955.
I also want to just touch, there has been a lot of press. I know the video from the police officer that was exposed to the drugs the other night was
that's nasty.
That's basically
did we ever?
nationwide.
Was there video? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, there's a video. They had their body cams on some of the responding personnel, and apparently.
Well, I talked with Ferrick yesterday. He wouldn't tell us. He wouldn't even tell us what the name of the officer.
It's still for medical reasons, the whole HIPAA thing, and it's
really
privileged information.
Oh,
so
God. Well, is the officer all right?
Yes, he's all right. He went home from the hospital, but apparently he did a traffic stop, and there was a container inside the vehicle that he apparently opened at some point that contained, which they think was fentanyl, which is a very powerful opioid.
That's what killed Prince and a couple of other
well,
people.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Tom Petty, and
yeah,
it's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Listen to me, good stuff.
That's
man.
basically used as a pain reliever for cancer victims.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it's coming in. They think most of this fentanyl now is coming from Mexico, and they're producing it either as a liquid or as a capsule. In some powder forms, I guess. They mix it with heroin and cocaine to kind of get an extra little buzz.
I'm a little bit too old for that kind of
Yeah,
fun.
it's bad. It's 50 times stronger, 50 to 80 times stronger than morphine. And, compared to heroin, it's like 100 and some times stronger than heroin. So it's a very powerful drug, very susceptible to abuse. The problem, actually in 2002, you probably remember the Russian military. You remember that terrorists? They had those people in the movie theater over there.
Oh, Breslin.
And they released fentanyl gas into the movie theater to control them. They killed 127 people with the gas. So it's a very
terrorists did, or the Russians?
No, the Russians did. They got rid of the terrorists by killing everybody. So,
those people. I read a little bit about that. There's going to be no good on it.
Yeah, there was no way to get out.
There were another suicide, bunch of whack jobs.
So,
just another culture, you understand.
Yeah. So anyway,
all cultures, when they're not getting their way or they feel oppressed, take innocent people.
Yeah. The officer didn't feel good, and apparently, this can be absorbed through the skin. It can be absorbed through the lungs. It can also be absorbed through the eyes, as far as I can tell, through the mucous membranes of the eye. And again, we don't know exactly what was in the container. It was sent off to the lab. I'm sure it was mixed with something else, because I was told it was kind of a brownish color. I don't think it was the actual capsule.
I have no idea.
Yeah, could have been acetone or some other cutting agent that was in there. But it's a very powerful thing. And so the gentleman was very fortunate that he knew something was happening. Basically, respiratory distress is one of the big things that happens with this. People have problems breathing. They get,
that would make me take it.
Yeah.
Hey, let me
Yeah.
take some of that so I
Yeah.
have trouble breathing.
Breathing, coma, and pinpoint pupils. Those are the classics.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's party.
Yeah. So anyway, he made it to the law enforcement center. He did call ahead for medical attention, and the medical people were there very quickly. But it's my understanding that another officer found him outside in the little place where you pull up with the prisoners when you pull in. I don't know what they call that.
The port, carport.
Yeah, the
I
port,
don't know.
yeah, whatever. They hit the button, but he was sitting out there. The car apparently was in gear, and his foot was on the brake. So it's very fortunate that he.
But he was just more or less
He was
unconscious.
out, yeah. And again, the video is out there. KCCI released it yesterday.
Oh,
and
no.
So they have the video of the responders coming and hauling him. They pixelated his face.
Oh.
So you can't tell who he
Well,
is.
that's a terrible story.
Yeah, and that's basically the first time that's happened in Fort Dodge. I mean, I know it's happened in other areas. It's again a very common drug of abuse, but you know it's bad. Now that we know it's out there, obviously the police officers are going to be more aware of it. You know, the Narcan that they use. I asked last year if there was a way we could put that in police cars, and I guess now they are carrying it in police cars. The response was very quick, and they administered Narcan, which is a neutralizer and works very, very well. If you ever watch like Live PD or Cops or anything, they use that on a lot of opioid overdoses, and the response is very quick, almost instantaneous. But he had, I believe they did the nasal injection on him a couple times down at the LEC. And then I guess they had to do it again out at the hospital. So he must have had a pretty good dose. I know there's been some comments out there, people kind of poo-pooing this, you know, saying that it really wasn't as bad as what it was. But, you know, that stuff is wicked. And, you know, it's not the kind of pills you get from your doctor. It's not the fentanyl patch you get when you're going through any kind of surgery that they give you to kind of kill the pain. This is counterfeit drugs more than likely, and probably mixed with other stuff that's pretty toxic. So we're very fortunate that this turned out as well as it did. You know, the young lady apparently has not been charged with anything yet other than driving without a license or suspended license. And I'm sure that once they figure out what this is, then it's going to open up some avenues for some additional charges. But
man alive,
tough deal.
That's
Tough
a bad
deal.
story.
Yeah, it's a bad deal. So again, it's a very, very common problem in certain parts of the country, but very uncommon here. First time.
I don't know. We have our drug problems here.
Yeah, but I know that there's drug problems, but the fentanyl apparently is creeping in from Mexico.
Creeping
in. Yep. So
we don't need that
bad
sort of
stuff.
creeping.
No, we don't need any creeping. No, rather see you creeping through bushes than creeping through fentanyl.
Creeping through bushes.
Yeah, that was another.
I don't
story.
recall doing that either.
You don't?
No. That was too
Probably-
blasé. Can you imagine me creeping through bushes ever in my life?
No, you probably hurt somebody.
No. Well, I would hurt somebody, but
Yeah.
I just don't have that personality.
Yep.
You know, I just have to be seen. Hey, I'm over here. Whoa, in the bushes.
We are looking at the public arts ordinance. I talked to Chris yesterday as we were waiting for Mr. Kirsten to get on a conference call with us. He never did get on it, by the way. But anyway, the public
Who
art.
didn't get on it?
Jim Kirsten. We're talking about the
He was
pig.
pretty busy.
Yeah, he was down in Des Moines yesterday. So the public arts ordinance is moving forward. The Main Street people are going to be looking at murals downtown, and the Public Art Council obviously is going to be involved in that. We kind of have a little bit of interest in what's going to be out there, and we're working with funding and also what's going to be put on the walls downtown. It's Luke Huggins is on that committee with the Main
Luke,
Street people.
my
Yep,
man.
good guy. So anyway, the public arts ordinance is going to take 1% of any capital improvement plan. Say you do $1 million street, 1% of that would go to capital or to the public art. 0.5% would go to building, maintaining art, and the other half would be to actually obtain the art. So we're looking to move into some of the areas where the other towns are doing this too. It was a proposal a few years ago, I guess, when Mayor Lutz was in office to take a higher percentage, but I think the 1% will be adequate to, provide the public art committee with about $100,000 a year to do artwork, which would be beautiful.
Before we get off the air now, we haven't talked about the parking ticket situation.
Parking. We're going to talk about
All
that
right.
Monday.
By the way, this is Dean Coleman.
Hi,
He's,
Dean. How are you?
Dean's with the Soybean Association. We're gonna,
Soybeans. I love
We're going to
soybeans.
shake hay in just
You know,
a couple of minutes here.
I eat a lot of soybean stuff. I'm a big supporter of the soybean industry.
Well, that's because you're a vegetarian.
You're right. If it wasn't for
No,
Morningstar,
don't make me say that's weird right in front of a soybean guy. Okay?
Well,
Have some pork and beef. It's good for you. Good protein source.
I won't tell you on air what I'm working on now, but trust me, it's not something a vegetarian should be working on.
Vegetarian. If you're strictly a vegetarian, you have a lot of gas. Isn't that right, Dean?
You don't want to talk about it. Yeah.
So don't come in here gassing up my studio, Mickey. Anyway,
speaking about parking,
he turns red really easily.
Yeah, this has gone downhill again. I thought we were doing all right.
We were doing. You were almost out the door.
I haven't mentioned Hillary, and here we are talking about something else. But anyway,
running for president. She's
no, she's not.
Oh, the hell she
No,
is.
she isn't. But anyway, the Monday night we're going to be talking the 2080 agreement with the county. Basically, if you have a warrant out because of a past due parking ticket, which there's 1,200 of them, the existing ones won't be affected. But from here on in, you'll get 1,200 of them, about $40,000 of money sitting out there. But anyway, if you have a parking ticket and you don't pay it within 30 days, it's a $30 fine. They give you 60 days beyond that. And then after that, if you go to register your vehicle, you will have to pay the parking ticket as well as a $5 administrative fee in order to register your vehicle. So that's going to be.
What are we going to do with the $40,000 when we get it? I bet it's not going to the food pantry, is it?
Party. Yeah, chili party down at City Hall.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I remember that idea we had a few years ago. Somebody had that.
You keep bringing it up.
I keep bringing it up. I brought it
was
up to you and Porter and Ferrick and Bemrick and everybody.
It was a miserable failure.
It was just, well, it never went anywhere because you guys were just trying to get me to go away.
But anyway, if you get a parking ticket, pay it. It's $15 at first, and it bumps up to $30. If you pay it, it's it hurts, but it's not as bad as waiting.
So if you do wait and they tell you can't register your car, how much is it to?
It'd be your $30 plus a $5 administrative fee, so it'll be $35.
$5. That's not much.
Well, that's all the
Crack
state
'em for
allows.
15. That's all the state allows.
State code allows them $5.
State can hose us for any amount that they want.
Yep, that's what they do. But anyway,
so $5.
Yeah, I don't know what else is on the agenda that will be released this afternoon, so I'm not sure what other parking we're going to address. But we do need a vehicle, so we're going to have to buy something.
Thank you, Dr. Terry Menke, Dean
No problem.
Coleman of the Soybean Associates. Coming up, 3:00.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A surprise revelation at a Senate hearing. Lisa Brady, Fox News. One of the senators announcing she's a military sexual assault survivor. Fox's Jared Halpern, live on Capitol Hill.
Arizona Republican Martha McSally told her story of being raped by a senior officer in the Air Force during an Armed Services Committee hearing examining sexual assaults in the military.
I blame myself. I was ashamed and confused. I thought I was strong, but felt powerless.
McSally was the first female fighter pilot in combat, a 26-year veteran of the U.S. Air Force. She says she stayed silent because of the military's wholly inadequate response to sexual assaults and considered separating from the Air Force. Earlier this year, Iowa Republican Joni Ernst detailed her experience as a victim of abuse and sexual assaults. Lisa.
Thanks, Jared. The president's hoping it's not true after 2 U.S. think tanks said satellite images show unwelcome activity in North Korea. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
President Trump reacting to reports that North Korea has begun rebuilding a key missile site near the Chinese border that Pyongyang had begun dismantling before the president's first summit with Kim Jong-un last June.
I would be very disappointed if that were happening. It's a very early report. We're the ones that put it out. But I would be very, very disappointed in Chairman Kim.
President Trump cut short his second summit last week in Hanoi after talks broke down amid differences over the steps Kim must take to denuclearize North Korea. Lisa?
John, the president's comments coming during an Oval Office meeting with the American hostage recently freed in Yemen, Danny Burch, and his family. He also answered a question about trade talks with China, saying they're moving along nicely. But at the closing bell, the Dow down 133 points. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For JD Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Uplifting state of the state message from Alabama Governor Kay Ivey after Sunday's deadly tornado.
While there's always uncertainty about what tomorrow might bring, there is absolute certainty in the resilience of the people of Alabama. After all, we've done it before, and we'll do it again.
The storm killed 23 people. Sheriff's officials confirming today everyone is now accounted for. California has gone from years of drought to very wet in a short time.
Los Angeles and San Francisco both pushed past the average annual rainfall totals in February. The snowpack is well above average. It seems like it's rained every week in Southern California.
This year alone, in 2019, this event was the third time that we've issued evacuation orders for those affected areas.
Those would be areas burned in recent wildfires. Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Lieutenant Eric Rainey says they lifted the orders Wednesday morning, but to be safe now, after a deadly mudslide in 2017, they regularly issue evacuation orders ahead of time if the models forecast a half an inch of rain per hour. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The last car rolling off the assembly line at GM's Lordstown, Ohio plant, home of the Chevy Cruze.
All part of GM's restructuring plan to close 4 plants in the U.S. and 1 in Canada. Still, GM employees in Ohio have faith
that they'll come through for us, that family will matter and our community will matter, and that they will give us a product.
A final decision on the plant's future is expected this summer during upcoming union contract talks. More than 16 million vehicles have rolled off the Lordstown assembly line since 1966.
Fox's Jeff Manasso, nearly 1,700 jobs there. GM, which faces a union lawsuit, has said most of its blue-collar workers would be transferred to other plants. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Afternoon, I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Upgrades to Olson Park and Fort Dodge are in the works in the near future. Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk talked about the next step in the process to improve the park yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
The next phase is to redo some parking, put up some fence in the area around the farm stuff is. Get work proceeding on where we're putting back in a little pond or a little water feature in there. One step in the multi-step process to get Olson Park improved.
Fierk says that some of the projects in the bond include improvements to the Blandon Art Museum, Fort Dodge Fire Department, and Harlan Rogers Sports Complex. Due to an unforeseen illness, the Devonshire show at the Wild Rose Casino and Resort in Emmitsburg for Saturday, March 9th has been postponed. Ticket holders can hold tickets to the postponed show, which will be announced shortly, or paid tickets can be refunded at the Iowa store or by calling 712-852-3400, extension number 4406. Iowa is considering new rules to limit school districts from using padded seclusion rooms to discipline children following a violent outburst. The Des Moines Register reports that the proposed changes seek to limit the frequency rooms are used and implement a better system to notify parents. The rules also seek new specifications for the wooden rooms, which are typically 6 by 6 foot. The ACLU of Iowa and Disability Rights Iowa helped draft the changes. They say some districts have used the rooms too frequently, particularly with students with disabilities and African Americans. School officials say they're concerned the rules are overly burdensome. The rooms have come under scrutiny in recent years. The State Department of Education determined in 2017 that the Iowa City Community School District improperly used the rooms. An Iowa House committee has voted to prohibit companies that manage prescription drug benefit plans from forcing patients to get their medications through the mail. Representative Brian Best, a Republican from Glidden, says he's seen mail-order company abuses.
I owned a durable medical equipment supply company, and I saw companies that would sell tons of CPAP devices. You go to somebody's closet, and their closet was literally full of things that they hadn't used. And I think sometimes with mail order that can happen.
A representative of the state agency that manages Medicaid told lawmakers the state will likely have to spend more if mail order companies can't be used for any of the medications prescribed to Medicaid patients. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 26. Winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Overcast tonight, chance for snow, lows around 6 above. Snow likely tomorrow, 21, cloudy. 1 to 3 inches of snow tomorrow through Friday night. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 29.
First State Bank and its ag lenders are first for you. They strive to help you grow with their hometown roots, quick local decisions, competitive rates, and superior service. When it comes to agriculture, they strive to be your #1 financial institution leader. Stop in or give Dave Taylor, Troy Tildes, and Steve Vandesen ag loan officers in Webster City a call to see how they can help you grow. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
First State Bank, first for you. Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
You know what's fun? Refunds. And using my tax refund to save big at Family Dollar, where you can save $5, $10, and $20 with Family Dollar Smart Coupons. This week, Colgate toothpaste or Extra Clean or Classic Clean toothbrushes are only 88 cents. Save $1 on any 2 Clorox items. And Cottonelle bath tissue, 12 big rolls, just $5. Sign up for your Family Dollar Smart Coupons. Download our app or visit FamilyDollar.com, where Family Dollar is refund.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. It's the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
You're saying a lot of words really fast that mean nothing.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
Okay. I think we're going to get to spring. Days like this give me hope. I know, it's still cold. The wind chill factor is still around 0. But I actually saw a little snow and ice melt earlier today. As a matter of fact, it melted and then refroze, and I nearly went on my rear end there, Dean. You know what I mean? Dean Coleman's here of the Soybean Association. How are you, Dean?
I'm doing great.
Well, I greatly appreciate you coming down on such short notice. I never know about you guys. You know, you're jet setters anymore. When was the last time you were in China?
It's been a year ago in October.
How many times?
September.
How many times have you been to China?
4 times.
I heard that China bought 10 billion bushels of beans from us not long ago. Is that correct?
Well, they supposedly are going to buy 10 billion. Before Christmas they were going to buy 6 billion, and then they end up canceling a bunch of those. So the Chinese say a lot of things, but what you have to do is see how they follow through on their promises.
Right.
And so we're still waiting for them to make good on some of the promises they made when they came into the World Trade Organization back in the early 2000s.
Explain that again. They weren't, when were they allowed into the World Trade Organization?
Around 2007, I believe.
And they made a bunch of promises then.
So they were going to, be better to their people. And
right. Human rights would improve.
Human rights was a big thing. Be a good trade partner. And so they've, they bought a lot of soybeans and pork, but the problem is that they're stealing our intellectual property on, they're in one hand they're buying and the other hand they're stealing from you. So, is that
Explain
really
that? What do you mean on one hand they're buying?
Well, on one
is
hand,
this the intellectual property you're talking about?
Yeah, so they buy 30 million metric tons of soybeans a year from us, but then they turn around and they force and coerce companies that want to do business in China to give them their intellectual properties and all of their secrets.
Why would a company do that? Once China has it, they don't need them anymore.
Well, because they got 1.3 billion people and everybody wants in that market. If you can sell 1.3 billion of anything,
I understand that's the market of the future. That's really what's not being said.
Yeah,
is the retail and commercial businesses going to China because of the population?
Yeah, and of course they've got that ever increasing middle class, and so
yes, the income in China has raised 30% in 15 years.
Yep,
that's remarkable. That doesn't even approach that in the United States.
Yeah. So once people start making more than a couple dollars a day, the first thing they want to do is increase their food consumption.
Of course.
And so that's where the soybeans have come into play. I mean, they buy a lot of our soybeans. Not that many of them are food for food itself, but most of it is fed hogs and poultry. And so, then they eat that.
The soybeans you're talking about.
Yeah. The soybeans are turned from a animal or a plant protein into an animal protein.
Sure.
And so,
but I guess I still don't get it, and maybe it's hitting me in the face, and I just don't feel it. It wouldn't be the first time in my life. I don't get why a company would turn over all its internal secrets to the Chinese, because the Chinese would then turn around and build a business just like the one that the company is giving all their secrets to. Take over our business, seems to be what they're saying.
Yeah, and I don't understand it myself. I know I visited with people from Pioneer and Bear and even Vermeer from Iowa, and it's the same thing over and over again. I mean, they to them in their business model, taking secrets or stealing stuff is, if you don't tell them it's wrong, why, they see no issue with that. So,
well, they see they're more nationalist than we are. I mean, it's the country of China dealing with individual U.S. companies. It does. The U.S. companies may want access to that market, but the Chinese are going to act in concert. And they have been.
Yep. Yeah, and so you have just a handful of people over there that make all the decisions and direct the direction the country's going to go in. And here we have 100 senators and 435 representatives,
right,
who can't get along at all,
and a bunch of companies who are competitive.
Yep.
And it's just a tough way to go. It's a tough way to go. Is there any movement in China? I mean, as far as the trade talks, or?
I listened to Senator Pompeo
he was in
Secretary
town.
of State
Pompeo
the other night in Des Moines, and he gave us hope that things were going to get straightened out. When I was in Orlando last week and heard the Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, talk, and probably a dozen times he told us that the president has got our back, that don't be discouraged, that he was going to take care of us as far as the trade and renewable fuels and those kind of things. So, we're hearing from a couple of high level people that agriculture should come out of this okay.
Do you think Sonny Perdue is a good Secretary of Agriculture?
Yeah, I mean, he was a farmer and then a veterinary,
but he was a Southern farmer.
Yep. And then he ran for the legislature down there and was elected, and then has made moves up from there. So, I mean, he understands agriculture probably more than anybody we've had in that position since John Block back in.
Now you're going back.
Yeah, a long way. So.
I forgot about John Block. Earl Butz I'll always remember, but Block was after Butz. Block was with Reagan, wasn't he?
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. He came out of Illinois. I know that.
I'm just always, and I don't know how much Tom Vilsack really had to do with this, but I'm always more comfortable with a Midwestern Secretary of Agriculture. Farmers had some good times with Tom Vilsack as Secretary of Agriculture, but I don't know how much he had to do with that.
I think most of what helped the farmers was the drought of 2012, and the drawdown in stocks of corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, everything. I mean, everybody made money because there was a shortage, and so. Where
was the drought at? You're talking about the
well, it's nationwide.
Yeah,
and
we didn't have the exports as we once did.
Well, we still had the exports,
right?
But we just didn't have carryover like right now in soybeans. We've got 900 million bushels of soybeans sitting out there, and the most I ever remember is about 300 million. So we're way above anything, going clear back in probably into the 80s. And so we just have a lot of beans sitting in storage, and of course everybody's waiting for better prices, and until those bushels are sold and marketed, why it's going to hang over the market and depress prices.
Yeah. I probably talked with you. Well, I know you were one of the guys I talked to in the late summer, early fall, when this trade war first started up, and there was optimism that, the president kept being optimistic, for one thing. There was optimism that we could work out a deal, and the Chinese know we mean business, this sort of thing. And then it's okay now because we're in the winter. And now recently it's been, we got to get this wrapped up here before we start planting. And it's March 6th.
Yeah. And of course, the Brazilian crop is half harvested now. And so they're going to be sending their beans to China, and ours are going to be sitting in storage here in the U.S. because we're getting past that time when the Chinese would normally quit buying U.S. and start switching to South American beans.
Is Brazil that much of a soybean exporter? Can they compete with us?
Yeah, between Argentina and Brazil are the world's largest producers of soybeans.
And their planting and harvest season is just kind of because of where they are in the earth tilting.
Yeah. So they're basically opposite seasons of us.
Right.
And Brazil used to go year-round planting soybeans, but then they got the soybean rust, which is a disease that causes great harm to the soybean plant.
Yes.
And so they passed a law down there that there can't be any live soybeans between May and September. So now the farmers have switched from soybeans to planting basically a second crop of corn that they use to keep their soil covered because it's so warm down there. And so now they're starting to be competitive in the corn market too. So they're not that large. They're not anything. I think they produce probably as much as Iowa and Illinois put together, but that's still a fairly good.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, how many other states compete with Iowa and Illinois? I mean, we're the two top dogs, right? I mean, Indiana, I'm sure. And
so I was down there probably 6-7 years ago, and at that time, it cost as much for transportation to get it from Mato Grosso to a port as what they were receiving.
You were in Brazil.
Yeah. So they
don't have the infrastructure.
Right. And so that's the thing that the United States has got going for us that's our edge, I guess, is the Mississippi River and locks and dams. But
and the Brazilians still do a lot of their work by hand, don't they? I mean, they don't have the big combine.
No, they've got.
Do they have the big equipment?
Yeah. So but it's still cheaper to hire labor than it is to buy machinery. And so in the United States, it's machinery intensive in the U.S. because, you can't find qualified people to run equipment. So everybody buys bigger and bigger stuff here in the U.S., where in Brazil, you'll see a lot of combines yet without cabs. And it's cheaper to hire a man for the day and run an older piece of equipment than it is to upgrade to something new and lower your labor costs.
Wow, they have that much. So labor is that competitive in Brazil?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that will work for little or nothing, and
Well, the reason I guess that's I'm surprised to hear that is because I'm aware that most Brazilians live in the larger cities, and I was thinking maybe that in rural areas, interior areas in Brazil, there might not be the population there that would support lower wage labor, but apparently there is.
Yeah. I mean, we visited some livestock facilities too down there, and they provide housing for their workers, and they have a cafeteria where they feed them 3 meals a day. And I mean, it's just kind of a self-contained little town in there, wherever their headquarters is.
Where did you spend time? Where were most of these farms at in Brazil?
Well, we were in Mato Grosso and then up towards the Amazon.
Okay, so you were up in north central Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay, because most of the population, I think, is down around in the southeast part of the country.
Right.
And China is that way, by the way. I think 90% of the population lives on the coast there in China.
And so the Brazilians had basically the same thing that happened in the U.S. I mean, a lot of those early settlers went out into the countryside and drove a stake in the ground, much like our homesteaders did.
Sure, they did.
And they were able to get land basically for nothing, and it wasn't fun out there the first few years. I mean, you're a long ways from any place to buy equipment. A lot of the places we visited, they have their own machine shop. They make their own parts right on site, because you can't wait for a couple of weeks to get a part from who knows where to fix a piece of equipment. So,
well, it's kind of regrettable that our culture became fascinated with the West. You and I growing up probably saw a lot of cowboy movies, and this is the way things were in the 19th century in Arizona, California, or wherever, or Texas. But the struggle of the pioneers in Iowa, and there's not a lot of writing or biographies that were ever done about the first settlers in Iowa, but they had a hard road to go. First of all, in the summertime, most of this was slough. There was no tiling at all, and the mosquitoes. I mean, the early surveyors were just eaten alive. And then in the winter, it was so god awful cold. It's amazing that we ever got Iowa settled, and most people don't have no concept of that.
Yeah, I mean, my wife's family settled in North Dakota, and can you imagine living in North Dakota in a tent throughout the winter? And that's what those guys do and did. And now we've got college students that they can't imagine even going 24 hours without a cell phone or Starbucks, and they think that's roughing it. But
that's what makes the pioneer story so amazing. And I'm not saying early settlers somewhere else didn't have similar conditions, but just to be out on the North Dakota plain in a tent, and it gets bad, you just can't take out your cell phone and call somebody. You're there.
Yeah,
and it's on you. Yeah, and you better figure out. Yeah, there's no takeout. Yeah, bring a pizza over here. Yeah, it was just those people were remarkable, and then most of them, came from another country, oh my God, I just can't, no indoor plumbing.
Yeah, so that speaks to what would cause you to leave your family and a country and go somewhere and endure that. It's amazing to me.
Well, there were a lot of reasons. I'm kind of a history buff. Most men are. There was in the 19th century in Germany. There's a lot of German, people in our country whose ancestors came from Germany, and they were. The government was either hostile to the Catholics for a while, and it was hostile to this particular Lutheran sect, and mainly religious persecution, I guess. And it's hard for me to put myself in the shoes of somebody in Germany in the 19th century, but it must have been bad enough that they wanted to come over here. I guess you and I are talking history class, and we should be talking soybeans, aren't we, here, Dean? But I do think if there's one thing I've tried to do with having you agriculture guys on, whether it be Greg Hora or Steve Peters with the Farm Bureau, is to appreciate our history and to appreciate what we have. It just didn't happen overnight. And to produce food is very important work. And food doesn't come from the freezer. You know, food doesn't magically appear in your chest type deep freeze or your side by side or whatever. Somebody had to work to get it here. And I guess it's to do that, we have to have a certain profitability in our state as far as agriculture is concerned.
That's true. And right now it's, it's a state of, most farmers aren't generating a lot of income, but, everything goes in cycles, and hopefully why we're on the verge of our next run up in prices. And I guess that's, most farmers are optimistic. They plant a crop every spring, hoping to get good yields and good prices. And so, we just keep doing what nature tells us, I guess, to do. And we're planters and harvesters.
Yeah, that's right. And it wasn't that long ago that was a pretty tough job. After helping out on the farm, we got hired on the farm a little bit when we were kids. I knew I didn't want to be a farmer back then. I just, hell with this, 95 in the shade. Oh, let's go to the hog house. Yeah, let's go to the hog house. You don't have livestock, do you, Dean?
Not anymore. I got out of livestock in 2007 or 8, I believe. So
you have no regrets, I take it.
No, and my wife even has less than that.
So you're good with row crop, huh?
Yep.
And you're mainly in soybeans, aren't you?
Well, mainly in corn, but
you are mainly in corn.
Yeah. This area just works better to grow corn than soybeans on some fields, and I was to an agronomy meeting yesterday, and they were saying, well, maybe you should take a second look at soybeans now. If you can't get field work done to allow you to plant corn on corn, you may want to take a look at soybeans this year because it's so wet, and it was a tough year last year. We mudded the crop in, and we mudded the crop out. A lot of field work.
That was a mess, wasn't it?
And a lot of field work didn't get done that would allow you to plant corn this year. So,
I talked to you down in Boone at the Farm Progress Show. Remember, we got that hell of a storm, rain just pounded. They had to close the show.
And it didn't get any better between that and Thanksgiving, really. So.
Not really, but I just remember I got all the way down to Boone, and I was ready to go in, and they called the show. It was just a blinding rainstorm. And I'll tell you, to get back to Fort Dodge was rough. I mean, it was raining. It was really raining so hard. And, oh, God, and then I went back the next day, of course. I spent a couple of days down there. And it was a great show, by the way.
Yeah.
But it was so muddy because of all that rain. Anyway, we're talking with Dean Coleman. He's with the Soybean Association. We'll be back.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
It's 3:30. The news is next.
This is Chris Heslop with Star Energy FS. If your business doesn't stop for cold weather, neither should your equipment. The professionals at Star Energy FS know that performance counts. SureFlow keeps your fuel flowing by preventing ice and wax molecules from plugging filters and fuel lines. Minimize your downtime and protect your engines all winter long. FS SureFlow delivers strong cold temperature performance, improved fuel efficiency, and optimum lubricity. Contact your FS specialist today about SureFlow, diesel fuel cold flow improver.
The bakers of Country Hearth and Village Hearth Breads are proud to support local education with Loaves for Learning, the program that makes it easy to earn money for your school. Enjoy Country Hearth and Village Hearth all-natural breads, buns, bagels, and more. Then save the UPC from the package for your school to collect and redeem. Each is worth 5 cents and can be used for books, computers, sports, music, whatever your school needs. Up to $10,000 a year. Learn more at loavesforlearning.com. Country Hearth and Village Hearth Breads, baking our best for you.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Afternoon, I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Upgrades to Olson Park in Fort Dodge are in the works in the near future. Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierick talked about the next step in the process to improve the park yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
The next phase is to redo some parking, put up some fence in the area around the farm stuff is. Get work proceeding on where we're putting back in a little pond or a little water feature in there. One step in the multi-step process to get Olson Park improved.
Fierick says that some of the projects in the bond include improvements to the Blandon Art Museum, Fort Dodge Fire Department, and Harlan Rogers Sports Complex. Due to an unforeseen illness, the Devonshire show at the Wild Rose Casino and Resort in Emmitsburg for Saturday, March 9th has been postponed. Ticket holders can hold tickets to the postponed show, which will be announced shortly, or paid tickets can be refunded at the Iowa store or by calling 712-852-3400, extension number 4406. Iowa is considering new rules to limit school districts from using padded seclusion rooms to discipline children following a violent outburst. The Des Moines Register reports that the proposed changes seek to limit the frequency rooms are used and implement a better system to notify parents. The rules also seek new specifications for the wooden rooms, which are typically 6 by 6 foot. The ACLU of Iowa and Disability Rights Iowa helped draft the changes. They say some districts have used the rooms too frequently, particularly with students with disabilities and African Americans. School officials say they're concerned the rules are overly burdensome. The rooms have come under scrutiny in recent years. The State Department of Education determined in 2017 that the Iowa City Community School District improperly used the rooms. An Iowa House committee has voted to prohibit companies that manage prescription drug benefit plans from forcing patients to get their medications through the mail. Representative Brian Best, a Republican from Glidden, says he's seen mail order company abuses.
I owned a durable medical equipment supply company, and I saw companies that would sell tons of CPAP devices. You go to somebody's closet, and their closet was literally full of things that they hadn't used. And I think sometimes with mail order, that can happen.
A representative of the state agency that manages Medicaid told lawmakers the state will likely have to spend more if mail order companies can't be used for any of the medications prescribed to Medicaid patients. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge 333. Dean Coleman of the Soybean Association is in the studio, and we'll be talking with Dean real soon. Right now it's 27 degrees in the weather, sunny for the rest of today with a high maybe of 30. Overnight, a chance of snow, mostly cloudy with a low of 8. It's going to be windy, low wind chill factor temperature, 10 degrees below zero. Tomorrow, snow is likely with a high of 21, wind chill factor temperature down there, 5-10 below. On Friday, mostly cloudy with a high of 30. On Saturday, snow and sleet, then, probably some snow. Saturday's just not going to be a real good day. We'll have a mixture of snow, sleet, and all that sort of stuff with a high in the mid-20s. On Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high of 30, and it's going to be windy, of course. Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 29. On Tuesday, snow, mostly cloudy, high 34. You will notice, though, that the temperatures are getting up there. 34 is still much colder than it should be this time of year, but it's not way below zero as it was just a couple of weeks ago. Right now, again, it's 27 degrees. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus Fire Receivers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Fire Receivers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfirereceiversfuneralhome.com. Merlin Hutchison has died at the age of 74. Merlin Hutchison, also known as Hutch, 74 years old, has passed. There will be a celebration of his life this Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning and a prayer service at 12 noon. That's all at Loftus Fire Receivers Funeral Home here in town. Destiny Smith has passed away at the very young age of 22. Destiny Smith has died. There will be a celebration of the life of Destiny Smith Friday from 5 to 7 with a prayer service at 7 at the Salvation Army. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus Fire Receivers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Fire Receivers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfirereceiversfuneralhome.com. 336, 27 degrees and AM 1400 KVFD. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn down 3.5 at 362.5. May down 3 1/4 at 372.5. July down 3.5 at 381, and December corn down 2 1/4 at 395. March soybeans down 11.5 at 889 3/4. May down 11 3/4 at 902. July down 12 at 915 3/4, and November down 11.5 at 936 3/4. March wheat closed down 13 3/4 at 440.5. Soybean meal down 380 a ton at 301.80. April live cattle up 7 cents at 128.90. June down 22 at 119.62. March feeder cattle down 22 at 140.65. April down 75 at 143.65. April lean hogs down 82 cents at 57.05. May down 40 at $66. I'm Dwayne Murley.
March is Frozen Food Month. Why do we celebrate? Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Did you know frozen vegetables, fruit, meat, and fish were first packaged and offered to consumers in the 1930s? Since then, people have been able to access food they wouldn't have been able to if they were limited by its being in season. Although frozen food can sometimes get a bad rap, there are nutritional benefits. For example, frozen fruits and vegetables are good for you. Some people think that foods will lose nutrients, but the freezing process can help preserve them. They will also taste the same because fruits and vegetables are typically frozen at their peak ripeness, which is when they have the most nutrients. Meat and fish are not seasonal like produce, but they also enter the fresh versus frozen food debate. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says that freezing meat and poultry does not affect its nutritional value, and if frozen at peak quality, it will taste better. Here's some tips when it comes to frozen meat and poultry. What about freezer burn? The USDA says freezer burn does not make food unsafe. It is caused by air coming in contact with the food and can be cut away before or after cooking. There are 3 safe ways to thaw food: in the refrigerator, in cold water, or in the microwave. The USDA says thawing in the refrigerator is the best bet, but typically will take a day or 2 to defrost. The takeaway: frozen foods are safe and can be just as nutritious as fresh foods. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
Did you know that the CDC recommends up to 6 vaccines, even for healthy adults? Or that vaccines are part of a healthy lifestyle, just like eating well and exercising? Or that choosing not to get vaccinated may put your health at risk? There's a lot to know when it comes to vaccines. Get the facts by visiting vaccinesandyou.com and talk to your doctor about which vaccines may be right for you. When it comes to your health, it pays to get the facts. Visit vaccinesandyou.com for more information.
A public service of Healthy Women in Burke.
Tough as nails, nerves of steel. If you've come to test our metal, you better tighten up your chin strap. Get amped up for all the great iron action on the Panther Sports Network.
University of Northern Iowa Sports are brought to you on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, by Mitch Lund State Farm, Party Productions, The Other Store, and New Age Media. Catch UNI Sports right here on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
As the nation's leader in pork production and pork exports, Iowa's pork producers are doing things right. It's their ethical and moral responsibility. Hog farmers keep their pigs safe and healthy, safeguard natural resources, protect public health, and build strong communities every day. Pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement are roles they take very seriously. Iowa's pork producers, producing safe, affordable food. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
The Webster County pork producers remind you, when it comes to protecting their family's health, Iowa's pig farmers are some of the most concerned people around. Safe, affordable, delicious, and nutritious pork can be served for your dinner tonight. Roasted, grilled, stewed, sautéed, stir-fried, broiled, kebabbed, sauced, dipped, sandwiched in your new recipes and your old recipes. Why not buy some pork today and serve it up tonight? This message brought to you by the Webster County pork producers, striving to serve people, pigs, and the planet.
Active Health presents their Irish I Was Kidding Adjusted Patient Appreciation Day. Get $17 adjustments on Friday, March 15th, and $17 a new patient appointment the week of March 11th. Find out how you could walk away with a cash-filled pot of gold, too. All proceeds from the Patient Appreciation Day will be given to the Fort Dodge Community Schools Foundation. Don't miss the Irish I Was Getting Adjusted Patient Appreciation Day, Friday, March 15th at Active Health Chiropractic, Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You're saying a lot of words really fast that mean nothing.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
All right, here we go. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. You're listening to Judas Priest. I don't know if that's the correct music to introduce Dean Coleman, but That's what we got anyway. Were you ever a Judas Priest fan there, Dean?
I really am of this song.
You
I don't know
this
if I could name any other ones, but I do like this one.
This one's a pretty good one, isn't it? Yeah. Dean Coleman's with the Soybean Association, and we were chatting in the last 20 minutes. I don't know if we got any, if we imparted any knowledge to you particularly, but Dean's always a good one to have an all-encompassing conversation about agriculture, and that's what we're trying to do. So what we're looking at, of course, in 6 weeks, hopefully, is planting time. And everybody wants to be in the field. And let's assume that we have the weather that's cooperating. What do we hope for as far, of course, we want to have the trade deal with China somewhat straightened out. We can't really count on that, though. There's always these indicators that, oh, yes, we're going to have, did the USMCA thing ever get done? The Mexico agreement?
No, we haven't got that signed yet. And we need to get that done. I think China looks at that and says, well, if they're not serious about negotiating and signing something with Mexico and China or with Canada, why, we can just keep dragging our feet on the Chinese deals. So we need to get that signed.
Why? Who benefits from dragging their feet on this deal?
That I'm not sure. It's not agriculture. I know that.
No. I had Bill Horn over here from Rockwell City last fall. And he was, very confident the USMCA deal was pretty much done. It was going to be signed. Here we are in March.
Yep.
Which is why I asked you, because I hadn't heard it had been signed yet.
No, they're still...
Son of a gun.
Yeah, and the Mexican government elected a new party, so some of it is a little bit there.
Mexican politics.
Yeah, but the majority is just U.S. policy that we can't seem to agree on anything anymore. So,
is it President Trump or his negotiators, or is it the Secretary of Agriculture, or who are the people that are?
No, I think it's Congress has to ratify it, and for some reason, they don't think it's good enough for their constituents to sign it. So,
do we know what Grassley and Ernst are saying, or?
Yeah, they're in favor of it.
They're in favor of it.
Yeah.
Steve King kind of got the boot there. I don't know if he's on the inside track or not.
Yeah, I was in D.C. the first week of February and got to visit with Senator Ernst and Grassley about biodiesel. We were out there trying to get the dollar blenders credit reinstated for our biodiesel producers.
Now explain that. Not everybody will know what you're talking about, the blenders credit.
Okay, so we take the soybean oil. After we crush the soybeans, you have meal and oil. Well, the meal is all fed to livestock, and so that's the number one use of soybeans. And then the byproduct from that is soybean oil. And in the early 2000s, the government decided that partially hydrogenated soybean oil was no longer good for you. So we lost a huge food market for our soybean oil. And so
what was the problem? I don't mean to take you off track, but
yeah, well, it's they say it wasn't healthy because of the process that it went through to get it to be stable on the shelf and that kind of thing. So
okay.
So anyway, now we've developed an industry called biodiesel, where they take the soybean oil and animal fats and corn oil and run it through a process, and then you're able to burn that in your diesel engines. And so we're using about 7 billion pounds of oil a year through biodiesel. But it's such a new industry that we need a little financial aid and stability to get these plants built and get everybody going and producing the biodiesel. So in the past, we've had $1 a gallon fee from the government that as you blend the biodiesel into the diesel, you collect this dollar. Well, it seems like every year it comes down to that omnibus bill at the end of the year, and this year it didn't get included. And so nobody's collected the dollar, and so a lot of biodiesel plants are getting in financial trouble out there. So I flew to DC with some other biodiesel producers from the Midwest, and we visited with Senator Grassley and Ernst, and Representative Loebsack, who had
Mhm.
co-authored a letter with another Republican congressman from Illinois supporting the biodiesel. And then I was able to meet with an undersecretary who reports to Secretary Wilbur Ross of Commerce.
Mhm.
And I was able to go into the Eisenhower building, which
Look out.
is right next to the White House. And we talked about Argentina. They were unfairly dumping biodiesel into the U.S. market.
Argentina was
Yep.
dumping biodiesel into the U.S. market?
Yep.
How was that working?
Well, they would bring it here, and then they collect $1 blender's
credit.
And then, so they were bringing biodiesel into Texas, into the Gulf, cheaper than the people in the Gulf could buy the soybean oil for. And so they were taking a huge portion of our biodiesel market.
Well, define blender's credit again.
It's $1 you get for blending a gallon of biodiesel with petroleum.
And that dollar comes from where?
That comes from the federal government.
Right. Okay. I just wanted
So
to get that
anyway,
cleared up.
we filed a suit in the World Trade Organization court, and they found in favor of the U.S.
Mhm.
And so then after a few weeks or a couple months, Argentina says, well, we've taken care of all the issues that you said we were doing wrong. And so now we're good citizens again, and we want to start bringing biodiesel back into the U.S.
Really?
And so we went to the Secretary of Commerce and said, don't be so quick to allow them back in. Make sure that they're doing this for more than a few weeks to help our U.S. biodiesel plants out. So anyway, we spent a couple days in D.C. Working on that, and of course that's when the government shutdown was on, and we were hoping to get this $1 blender's credit included in the continuing resolution that would open the government back up. Well, in the end, that did not happen. So now Senator Grassley is going to bring it out of the Senate, which normally doesn't happen. It comes out of the House because they're the ones that control the purse. But to make his point that we need a biodiesel market in the United States, renewable fuels, it's good for the environment, it's good for farmers. And so he's going to bring it out of the Senate, and hopefully we get some movement from him finally. So,
I want to see the president of the United States succeed. Several years ago, Rush Limbaugh said that he wanted Barack Obama to fail. I was appalled, frankly. Not because I was not a big Obama fan, but that an American citizen should say the American president should fail is just not the way to go. And I certainly want President Trump to succeed. But God, it's shutdown and trade wars. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and then,
let's do a little business.
Yeah, and then the EPA was allowing small refiner exemptions in the ethanol world, and so we lost a lot of ethanol blending in the United States because these companies were given an exemption. And when I think of small, I'm not thinking of somebody that's making billions of dollars profit a year. I'm thinking of somebody that is struggling to make things go. So
yeah.
But anyway, so we need the president to stand strong with renewable fuels. I mean, he campaigned that he was, but then Ted Cruz held Bill Northey hostage.
He did.
And
that was all politics.
And so
he nearly got beat in Texas. By the way.
But he held Bill Northey hostage long enough that I'm not sure that the president didn't allow something to happen there that has kind of put our renewable fuels under the bus, and hopefully
I wondered about that too, because Ted Cruz of all people, President Trump and Senator Cruz were in a big brawl there for quite a long time over the nomination. He was lying Ted, and then Cruz wouldn't support the Republican nominee he announced at the Republican convention. He was booed, and all of a sudden he's doing things, it seems, for Cruz. Whatever happened to the year-round E15? I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of action on renewable
Yeah,
fuel.
we're getting closer to that. I guess I don't follow it, that close, but I think I heard that it's now going to happen. I know Secretary Perdue said that it wouldn't happen before the driving season, and then the EPA administrator came out and said, yes, it's going to happen. So hopefully it does, but we need to get this small refiners exemption cleared up and quit allowing Mobil and Exxon and some of these big companies to weasel out of using renewable fuels in their products. So
that's really what they want too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why we have this dollar blenders credit, is because they control all the pipelines, they control most of the gas stations and that stuff. So they can freeze you out if you don't. If it's not in their best interest, why they can freeze renewable fuels out. So
was there, did we get clear in California? I mean, California and some other states were always worried about renewables were going to be pollutants. Did we get that behind us?
Yeah. So California is the number one user of Iowa biodiesel.
That's great.
They have a low carbon standard in California. So most of the biodiesel that's made in Iowa is shipped to California.
Excellent.
And so they're,
we like it when a state with 40 million people who drive all over the place use our stuff,
Yeah, that's one thing in the plus column. There's a lot in the negative, but
it's always something anyway.
That's a big thing in the plus column for Midwest agriculture. So,
and that's, but it's always some nonsense or another.
Yeah. So
you just got to live with it, I guess.
Yeah, you take the good with the bad, I guess.
Yeah, and keep trying to move forward. Well, that was kind of big, because if we'd have lost I know, and this has been a while ago when we started talking about renewable fuels, and California started grumbling two things. First, they thought it was a pollutant, and some of the mechanics at the time said they were finding corn residue in the fuel injectors of cars and things like that. But mainly they were worried about it was a pollutant in California, because it was, they really do have an air quality problem there in California.
Yeah. So, I mean, the ethanol was great for the California market, as well as the biodiesel. I mean, you can burn straight biodiesel in any diesel equipment, and you don't have to do anything to change it. In fact, there's a lot of mines and stuff in the U.S. that burn straight biodiesel, and all you end up with is water vapor.
Excellent.
When it goes through the engine. So, I mean, you don't have to worry about all these toxic things that come out of diesel fuel. So it's
that works then, doesn't it?
It's a great product. Yeah.
Do we use a lot of soybeans for renewable fuels or not?
Yeah. So it's worth about 63 cents a bushel, the biodiesel portion.
That's big, isn't it?
So, yeah, I mean, when we're looking at depressed prices from the trade issues, we hate to lose another 63 cents. So.
Is that mainly biodiesel fuel? Or?
Yeah, that would be the biodiesel portion of the price that a farmer gets for his soybeans.
Decker Trucking did a big study on biodiesel
they
some
did
years ago.
Million mile study here a few years ago.
Do you remember the results of that? Or
it came out, there was no downside to burning the biodiesel. So, I mean, the engines came out and they were just about like new. So
Decker must, and I don't know this, but I assume that Decker then uses more biodiesel.
Yeah, I'm sure, they purchase it wherever you can get it. And the reason biodiesel another reason it came into use is because we did away with the sulfur in diesel fuel. That was a lubricant that was put in there for the injector pumps and that kind of thing. And so the government outlawed the high sulfur. And so now we're burning ultra low sulfur diesel. And we were looking for a product to put in there to keep from wearing out the injector pumps. So that's what biodiesel does. You can put in 2% biodiesel and it takes the place of the sulfur.
Dean Coleman's been our guest, and I want to thank you again, Dean, for the last minute appearance here. I really do appreciate it. And Dean's farms are on Humboldt, and he's involved in the Soybean Association, and he's been our guest many times, and I hope you'll come back again. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for
A house doesn't become a home until a dog lives there. Sorry, or a cat. Almost Home presents their 11th annual Fur Ball, Saturday night, March 16th from 7 to 11 at Fort Dodge Ford. Come enjoy a night of fun for the fur babies with live and silent auctions, a live band, games, a cash bar, tons of prizes, and delicious food courtesy of Amigos with desserts from Hummingbird Confections and Lorita's Cakes and more. Advance tickets are $20 each or $30 a couple. Get your tickets now at Hy-Vee and Humboldt or Fort Dodge, Almost Home, or Fort Dodge Ford Toyota, or get them at the door for $25 each. All proceeds will go to Almost Home for the care of homeless cats and dogs, from newborn kittens to senior cats, from tiny puppies to full-grown adult dogs. Almost Home takes care of them all until they find a forever home of their own. Don't miss Almost Home's 11th annual Fur Ball, Saturday night, March 16th at Fort Dodge Ford Toyota, sponsored by Nestle Purina.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
A printer with more ink than you think.
The Epson EcoTank printer comes with up to 2 years of ink included, right in the box.
So you can print up to 2 years worth of reports and proposals. Just think about how much you'll save on ink.
And right now at Staples, save $70 on the Epson EcoTank 2750. Plus, when you trade in your old printer in store, you'll save an additional $30.
Staples, there's a whole lot in store.
Ends 3/30/19. See associate for details.
In today's economy, it just makes sense to plan ahead. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, pre-planning your funeral arrangements can save you money. By planning ahead, you can secure your arrangements at today's prices, no matter when their services are needed. Pre-planning your funeral is one of the most thoughtful things you can do for your family. Call them for details. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
Celebrating life, Historic Bruce Funeral Home.
This is Gary Rima, the voice of the UNI Panthers, and you can listen to exciting Panther sports right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Some of the biggest names in business are at the White House. Melissa Brady, Fox News. It's a meeting of the presidential panel aiming to find new ways to connect employers with potential workers, and not necessarily with college degrees. Apple CEO Tim Cook is there.
About half of our U.S. employment last year were people that did not have a four-year degree. And we're very proud of that, but we want to go further.
The heads of IBM, Visa, and Home Depot also part of that advisory board, just to name a few. A resolution aimed at rebuking a freshman member of Congress is still a work in progress in the House. Fox's Jared Halpern is live on Capitol Hill.
Democrats are considering changes to a resolution condemning anti-Semitic language to add condemnations of anti-Muslim and other hateful speech.
There has been a rise of hatred in this country. If you can talk about Charlottesville, you can talk about so many examples. What happened in Pittsburgh.
Congressional Black Caucus Chair Karen Bass says a resolution expressing condemnation should not single out Minnesota Democrat Ilhan Omar. Omar is answering criticism from leaders in both parties for remarks about the pro-Israel lobby and suggestions of allegiance to a foreign government. Republicans have pushed to have Omar removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Lisa.
Thanks, Jared. At a Senate hearing on the way sexual assault claims are handled in the U.S. military, Senator Martha McSally, the first female fighter pilot in combat, announced she is an assault survivor.
The perpetrators abuse their position of power in profound ways. And in one case, I was preyed upon and then raped by a superior officer.
The Republican Arizona senator says she never reported the assault because she didn't trust the system. But she's arguing commanders should not be removed from the decision-making responsibility of preventing, detecting, and prosecuting military sexual assaults. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
President's former lawyer back on Capitol Hill, his fourth round of testimony since last week. This latest round back behind closed doors.
Michael Cohen, President Trump's former personal lawyer, gave the House Intelligence Committee documents that reveal alleged editing to the statement he used to lie to Congress in 2017 about efforts to build a Trump Tower in Moscow during the presidential election. Cohen testified last week that another lawyer for the president, Jay Sekulow, edited the statement before Cohen delivered it to the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. Cohen pleaded guilty last year to lying to Congress in that statement by falsely claiming the Trump Tower effort was dropped months before the president locked up the Republican nomination. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
Homeland Security Chief Kirstjen Nielsen taking heat at a House hearing over immigration policies along the U.S. border with Mexico.
Any asylum seeker who comes to a port of entry, you basically have just said their claim. Okay, well, let me tell you, Madam Secretary, either you're lying to this committee or you don't know what's happening at the border.
California Democrat Annette Barragan also slamming the previous handling of family separations. Nielsen calls the current laws outdated.
Information about the weaknesses in our system have spread quickly in Central America. In fact, they are advertised.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Afternoon, I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Upgrades to Olson Park in Fort Dodge are in the works in the near future. Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierick talked about the next step in the process to improve the park yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
The next phase is to redo some parking, put up some fencing, fence in the area around the farm stuff is. Get work proceeding on where we're putting back in a little pond or a little water feature in there. One step in the multi-step process to get Olson Park improved.
Fierick says that some of the projects in the bond include improvements to the Blandon Art Museum, Fort Dodge Fire Department, and Harlan Rogers Sports Complex. Due to an unforeseen illness, the Devonshire show at the Wild Rose Casino and Resort in Emmitsburg for Saturday, March 9th has been postponed. Ticket holders can hold tickets to the postponed show, which will be announced shortly, or paid tickets can be refunded at the Iowa store or by calling 712-852-3400, extension number 4406. Iowa is considering new rules to limit school districts from using padded seclusion rooms to discipline children following a violent outburst. The Des Moines Register reports that the proposed changes seek to limit the frequency rooms are used and implement a better system to notify parents. The rules also seek new specifications for the wooden rooms, which are typically 6 by 6 foot. The ACLU of Iowa and Disability Rights Iowa helped draft the changes. They say some districts have used the rooms too frequently, particularly with students with disabilities and African Americans. School officials say they're concerned the rules are overly burdensome. The rooms have come under scrutiny in recent years. The State Department of Education determined in 2017 that the Iowa City Community School District improperly used the rooms. An Iowa House committee has voted to prohibit companies that manage prescription drug benefit plans from forcing patients to get their medications through the mail. Representative Brian Best, a Republican from Glidden, says he's seen mail-order company abuses.
I owned a durable medical equipment supply company, and I saw companies that would sell tons of CPAP devices. You go to somebody's closet, and their closet was literally full of things that they hadn't used. And I think sometimes with mail order, that can happen.
A representative of the state agency that manages Medicaid told lawmakers the state will likely have to spend more if mail order companies can't be used for any of the medications prescribed to Medicaid patients. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 26. Winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Overcast tonight, chance for snow, lows around 6 above. Snow likely tomorrow, 21, cloudy. 1 to 3 inches of snow tomorrow through Friday night. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 27.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
You can count on the staff at DART to help keep you safe and comfortable when you ride with them this winter in Fort Dodge. Need to go to the doctor, to the office, or school? DART will take you there. Get around Fort Dodge safely this winter with your friends at DART. Call 800-BUS-RIDE. Put their number in your phone now. 800-BUS-RIDE. DART, your Jefferson Lines connection.
Our job here is getting you there. Ride the bus.
You can get a complete wardrobe for just $10 at the general store. We're talking shirt or blouse, jeans or dress pants, socks, even shoes. Anything for your wardrobe you can fit into a bag. All for just $10 on the first Wednesday of every month. Stuff your bags full of clothing for everyone in the family. And there's no limit on bags. Remember, all proceeds at the general store go back into our community to help people with special needs. Shop the bag sale on the first Wednesday of every month at the general store, 12 North 25th, Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Before we got married, my mother asked me if my wife was going to convert to Catholicism. You're right to laugh. It's a stupid question. I don't know, Mom. Let me go ask. Let me go see if a 29-year-old Jewish woman who doesn't like any of my suggestions would convert to, what was it again? Roman Catholicism? How would I even have that conversation? What, do you come home with a brochure and you're like, hey, honey, allow me to tell you about an exciting, not new organization.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
All right, this is AM 1400, KBFT, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We are going to tell the truth, make it matter. We're never going to be boring. You can always join the program by calling 515-955-1400. We're on YouTube, by the way. Just go to youtube.com and 1400 KBFD, and you'll see a live feed there, audio and visual. And if you do that, you'll see this good-looking guy across from me here is Matt Cosgrove, who's the County Conservation Officer. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Mike.
Haven't seen you for a while. How you been getting along?
Not too bad. Just trying
not
to get through this winter like the rest of us.
I was going to say, is there a lot for you to do out there when you're frozen like this, or everything's frozen up like this?
There is. We stay busy, obviously, year-round. It used to be kind of one of those less busy seasons. We don't have that anymore. The busy just kind of changes. So this time, fortunately, it's a lot more inside work for us, but, moving all this snow, our guys do a good job of moving snow at a lot of different, parks, trails, all those sorts of things, which takes a lot of time.
Man, you had plenty of snow to move this year.
Definitely.
Did you have a good camping season last year? I've been thinking about getting another camper. I haven't had a camper in a long time, but I'm thinking about making the step.
Yeah, one of our record seasons in camping at Kennedy, and we had the full season of camping now at Gypsum City OHV Park for the first time.
Okay.
So yeah, that's camping was good. Weather was a little bit of an issue, but other than that, it was a good season.
Well, we had crappy weather last year. I'm hoping that we can get away from that this year.
I hope so too.
Anyway, Matt Cosgrove's our guest county conservation officer. There's a couple of beers. Yeah. Where's my
Sounds
mind?
good.
Where's my mind? Yeah. There's a couple of bills down at the State House that some people don't like. Could you explain that to us?
Well, yeah, it's been an interesting week in county conservation. Normally we're not real tuned in with what's going on the statewide picture of things, but this week we had a couple bills kind of take us by surprise. One in the House, one in the Senate. One was House File 542, the other one Senate File 1221. They both really kind of got at the land acquisition piece of what county conservation boards, cities, the DNR, really kind of targeting the ability to acquire land. And so, we kind of had to spend a lot of time at the State House visiting with legislators, kind of rallying the troops around, 350, Chapter 350 of the Iowa Code, which is how county conservation boards were created by their local counties back in the 50s. That's kind of their purpose, to acquire and develop land for the people in their county to recreate and, for conservation-related issues.
I got to play devil's advocate with you because that's my job.
Right.
Now we have parks here in Webster County.
Right.
Are they all well maintained? Should we be spending money to maintain these parks rather than looking for new land to acquire?
Good point. And that's what some of them pointed to. On the state side of things, we'll start there. You know, their budget, DNR's budget's been cut probably over the last 10 years by almost 50%. So trying to manage facilities you had, you know, with 50% less money is a challenge. So that's created some of the problem on the state level.
50% less money.
It's in that neighborhood.
Ouch.
I don't know the exact numbers, but it's significant.
Yeah.
So on the county side, we're much more fortunate. And, you know, it depends on the county. Like most, if you have a bigger county, you obviously have a bigger tax base. You have the ability to have cabins and camping and some of those sort of things to offset your tax asking and produce revenue. But each board of supervisors can make that decision on how much money they want to spend. And that's kind of the beauty of the county conservation system is it's local. So they have the ability to do that. So yeah, I would say, you know, some of our areas like Kennedy, they have to be well maintained because they see significant people and usage and that sort of thing. Some of our
Kennedy
wildlife,
especially, I would assume.
Right. Yeah. But some of our wildlife areas. So that's kind of this time of the year we're getting out to them to be able to do more land management stuff. So, you know, there's different levels of maintenance, different levels of management on those facilities, and seasonally they change based on kind of usership. So when they're spending, you know, our hunting seasons and things like that, we obviously don't do a lot of management and maintenance during the hunting seasons. So it shifts to this time of the year when we can direct our activities to not so much people management, but more of that land management.
Sure. Is this the only part of the bills that concern you? And I assume what the bills are going to do is restrict your ability to acquire new land for conservation and parks.
Yeah, so one of them, the House version was really an attack, but it was pretty significant. It was basically just saying no more land acquisition. You can spend money to preserve what you currently have, but other than that, you don't need any new trails. You don't need any new parks. You don't need any new anything. You know, the other thing is typically we work with willing landowners. We're not out beating on doors trying to buy people's ground. We're working with willing landowners most of the time that come to us. A lot of times they border a property that we already manage, or they just have nobody to turn their property over to, and they've done land management on themselves for a lot of years, and they want it to go to a county conservation board or public use or whatever it may be. So a couple of the key points in the bill were how do you affect land acquisition? And there's a tax credit out there that people that donated land or sold their land at a bargain price to county conservation boards or the DNR or, you know, any other nonprofit entity could get a tax credit. So they were stripping that ability out in both bills is the way they started. And then the other piece was the state revolving loan fund is a way that we can address water quality issues. And
say that again.
State revolving loan fund. So it's a broad way to mainly communities, water utilities. So City of Fort Dodge, for example, can take out a loan, low interest or no interest loan through the state revolving loan fund. It also works in watersheds. So you can put practices upstream in watersheds. So wetland complex, you can do work upstream in the watershed and treat the water before it gets to a water utility. So some of that money was being used for land acquisition so that they could acquire those properties for long-term maintenance in those larger water quality projects. Well, they stripped that out in the Senate version, being able to use that for land acquisition in those projects, which basically makes it more of a utility. And they said that was the intent of that program anyway, is to create a utility, you know, for the utility companies or the cities, that sort of thing, rural communities, that sort of thing. So they're tweaking that to how you can use those funds. So
where did this come from? Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, as you probably know, our legislators should be looking for fat in the budget. They should be looking for ways to reduce our taxes if they can. Is there a program that has outlived its usefulness? Is there no need anymore for this particular project, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You really believe that this would be, well, as you say, I believe you said, I really don't remember. Really bad,
right?
If you were no longer able to buy new land for conservation purposes.
But yeah, I mean, I typically in my job don't typically.
Is it mainly now? Let me finish, and I should have finished the question. I beg your pardon. Is it mainly for conservation that that the county would buy new land, or is it for recreation as well, or are there other uses? Or
So it's both. Yeah. So, I mean, a good example is the most recent property that we purchased has been Camp Winoki.
Yeah.
So it's not.
I want to use that this year.
Right.
That sounds
Yeah.
pretty
We were
cool.
just talking about it. So that's not a property, that was ag-related. It didn't have, a ability to really turn an income, that sort of thing. So that's more of I would say, more of a park setting. We're going to use it as a camp setting, that sort of thing. But we also purchase property for, water quality, wildlife, all those sorts of things. So there's a pretty broad spectrum on what the property is purchased for. But yeah, the first bad, the House bill was really bad. That's no future trail expansion. It's no, let's say the gypsum companies wanted to donate more property for more trails out at the OHV park. Not allowed through a state fund. So you couldn't use state money for those type of projects.
And the gypsum companies might want to do that. They're played out mines out there that can be used for other things.
That's the hope in the future. So, but trail expansion, we just, the county and Fort Dodge just did a trail master plan. So, that wouldn't be, you wouldn't be able to expand any of the trail doing that.
Okay.
So it's got broad implications on what we could be able to do for both a habitat standpoint, park development, trail development, water trail access sites that we're working on right now.
I first heard about this from David Osterberg last week. David Osterberg is a former state representative, and he's a water quality expert with the Iowa Policy Project. Really good guy. Not all the farmers in our part of the world like David. I mean, they might like him personally, but they don't like what he has to say about water quality. And he was concerned about not being able to do anything with water quality. Is that a concern of yours, or is that a little bit out of the conservation area? Or
no, that's one of the big concerns about this. Is it not only limits our ability to acquire land, it limits landowners' ability to be able to do things with their land, like this SRF funding, the state revolving loan.
It limits landowners,
right? If you're a landowner and you want to donate your property to the county conservation board to build a wetland upstream of Badger Lake, you wouldn't be allowed to do that.
Well, that doesn't make a damn bit of sense. What reasons are being given for these particular pieces of this bill?
It's pretty surprising, especially, last year water quality was the big topic for last legislative session. And the governor touted, signing the first bill was a water quality bill, House File 512. And that was supposed to be the beginning, not the end of water quality work in Iowa. Well, I haven't seen any, this bill is directly against not improving water quality. It takes away tools that we currently have to improve water quality. So it's not helping. From a land acquisition standpoint, that it has some merits. But from a water quality standpoint, when we're trying to move that ball forward, this doesn't help the process.
I'm wondering what is driving this. I realize tax cutting and expense cutting is always a big deal, but this seems a little short-sighted. I think we can cut our nose off to spite our face.
Yeah, some of the conversation that was at the Capitol on Monday was young farmers are struggling to get involved. And one of that's competition with state and counties purchasing property. The challenge with that is counties and state aren't out buying high quality ag ground. We're buying river bottom stuff. We're buying stuff that floods. It may be adjacent to our park. If we can get a trail corridor, that sort of thing. But we're not out buying, $10,000 per acre farm ground. So, whether that's the excuse, I don't know what the deal is, but that was one of the reasons that's brought up, is that it's competition for young farmers trying to get involved in the field.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me, frankly.
I don't think so.
I'll have to find the bill's sponsor and get a hold of them and see if they'd be willing to talk to me about that.
Yeah, and
let's say I got a hold of the sponsors. What would you have me ask them?
Well, what's the intent?
Well, that would be the first thing.
What's the driving force behind this? I guess
I called you up, Mr. Senator, because it does make any sense. Why did you tell me what's really going on?
So, the Representative Seek, I think is maybe how you say his name.
Seek?
Yeah, he is a Mills County, kind of over in that area, western Loess Hills.
Oh, okay.
So, with his that was the really restrictive bill, and he probably has, depending on. The Loess Hills obviously probably has a lot of protected land over there in the western side of the state. So, that's probably where some of this is coming from. Probably hearing maybe some feedback on protected land and that sort of thing over there. So that could be a locally where he's hearing that from. But this is a broad reaching across the state bill to shut down, land acquisition projects. So what are you trying to accomplish by this?
Well, if you're not out buying farmland, which obviously you aren't, and you're trying to expand trails, and you made the example with the gypsum mills and those sorts of things. I mean, that's local. That's all things we can understand. Is there somewhere else in our state where land acquisitions are causing a problem that you know of that might cause representatives and senators to take this action?
My guess is there are isolated cases where this has happened. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
We wouldn't.
So.
I mean, but I wonder what.
Well, I mean, if you
this
look
has
at,
got me curious now because somebody somewhere is having a problem with the way parks and conservation offices do things.
Right.
It can't be the case here in Fort Dodge because when we acquire land, it's the OHV park type thing. And that's a good deal for us. That's been a really good deal for us.
Right.
And you're right. The mills may want to donate more money or more ground. Saves them a little money on taxes and those sorts of things.
You know, if you look at urban development, that's probably a bigger sprawl than it is, certainly what we see. And again, this is a statewide thing. I'm telling you what Webster County is seeing. But if you look around us, you're going to see more land around here developed from development than you have been from, conservation activities.
Well, I would think so. Yeah. I'm just a little, if there's one thing we can unite around, I think it's parks. Of course, I'm an older man. I grew up with parks, Right. Maybe the legislators are thinking that parks aren't as popular as they once were, but judging from Kennedy, and all I can do, and you would have the information, all I can do is judge in the summertime, I guess, when I see boaters and campers out at Kennedy and golfers, certainly. It looks like Kennedy's going all the time. Are all our parks used?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing a fair amount of people using parks. They're, kind of a broad range across incomes. So you see people definitely, out using those facilities. So the challenge, I think one of the driving points here is if you look at the state side of things, is they've seen budget reductions, in state parks, and they're probably hearing some feedback on, state parks, what they look like, or if they have enough staffing and those sorts of things. And I think some of it drives to the point of maybe we should be taking care of what we have before we can, grow. And we've heard that in the past before too. So, but again, I don't know, that we're kind of taken by surprise in this, especially when some of them have some water quality implications and we're supposed to be trying to work toward a nutrient reduction strategy.
Yeah. Well, and that makes me wonder, some farm groups are a little leery about, I mean, it's not that they're certainly opposed to water quality. Who would be crazy enough to be opposed to that? But they are leery of activists who support stronger measures for water quality. But
yeah, I don't think anybody's under the grand illusion we're going to turn the whole prairie back, the whole state back to prairie. That's I think bad, that's what these bills look like. It's like that's kind of what we're trying to defend against. And I think it's just the common sense approach of farm the best and buffer or conserve the rest.
Let's go back to 2010. In 2010, 63% of Iowans voted for a constitutional amendment to create the Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund, a permanent and protected funding source. Yes, I'm reading. 9 years later, the trust fund sits empty. Why?
Good question. I think that's some of the
It requires a state sales tax increase of 3/8% for funding.
It does.
Now, are our legislators defying the will of the people? Because that's a problem with me.
Well, that's been the case, since 2010 when the constitutional amendment went into effect. So, this process started back in 2006 with the legislature basically created a sustainable funding committee. It brought in a broad range of people, from conservation to sportsmen to farmers to you name it, to look at what other states are doing to fund their conservation and recreation programs, what's a long-term funding strategy for it. And they basically came up with what they developed for the Iowa's Outdoor Recreation, Natural Resource and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund. So it basically takes 3/8 of a cent sales tax increase is the first thing that funds it. So we need a sales tax. So constitutionally in 2010, well, actually in two sessions of legislature of 8 and 9, both legislatures approved it overwhelmingly to put it on the ballot to let voters establish a constitutional amendment for this purpose.
For the sales tax increase?
Nope, to create the fund.
Just create the fund.
So, and it would be funded by the first 3/8 sales tax increase.
Okay.
So you can either increase the sales tax by 3/8 or you can increase it by a cent, whatever. It automatically kicks it in at the first 3/8 of the next sales tax increase.
So we need somebody to propose then down at the State House a 3/8 cent tax increase to get this done and obey the overwhelming will of the people.
Right. Yeah. But,
This
you know,
is
there's been more. There's been bills in the past. And, you know, some of this water quality stuff last year kind of clouded it up. You know, I think that some of this land acquisition stuff is related to this trust fund, because eventually there's some money that's going to start flowing into this. You know, if the sales tax, if and when sales tax increases, money's going to start flowing into the trust fund. The trust fund has got things set up. You know, it's set up to fund natural resources, parks, watershed protection, soil and water conservation, trails, lake restoration, our current REAP program. So it's got a kind of a funding plan and strategy in place. It's $180 million annually that gets pumped into this fund that can be used on public land, on private land, you know, to improve water quality, to protect our soils, to develop trails, to enhance parks. It's a broad reaching, kind of what Minnesota has done this, Missouri has done this, a lot of states have done this to fund their natural resources. You need a, you know, sustainable and sizable amount of money to be able to implement these programs and, you know, like the nutrient reduction strategy.
You know, I often bark about the Supreme Court and Rule by 7. I disagree with minority rule. I am fully in favor of majority rule and minority rights. Now, by that I mean 63% of the people of the state of Iowa have demanded this happen, and 9 years later it still hasn't happened. I'm thinking a minority in the legislative body is holding this up. I'm not in favor of that.
Well, you and I are in the same boat there.
I want to talk to you a little bit. We're going to take a news break here.
Okay.
We're going to take this news break, and I want to know if you've been talking with our state representatives. Have you?
I have, yeah.
We'll talk about that when we come back.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
These are the new leads. These are the Glengarry leads. And to you, they're gold. And you don't get them. Why? Because to give them to you is just throwing them away.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
All right, it's 4:29. Yes! 4:29, the news, the weather is all coming up, and more Matt Costro. That's coming up as Divine Intervention continues at AM 1400 KVFD. The voice of Fort Dodge, yeah.
This is Chris Heslop with Star Energy FS. I understand that time is a precious commodity, especially when it comes to your operation. That's why I am dedicated to be the best at providing business solutions for your operation. FS proudly supports the local communities we serve and is committed to helping your operation continue to run smoothly so that you can spend more time with those you care the most about. Star Energy FS is your local, reliable supplier for fuel, lubricant, and propane needs. FS, the people and the products to take you further.
In today's economy, it just makes sense to plan ahead. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, pre-planning your funeral arrangements can save you money. By planning ahead, you can secure your arrangements at today's prices, no matter when their services are needed. Pre-planning your funeral is one of the most thoughtful things you can do for your family. Call them for details. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
Celebrating life, Historic Bruce Funeral Home.
Thrifty White Community Health Corner. Immunizations are not just for kids. Adults should keep their vaccinations up to date as well. Thrifty White Pharmacy's certified immunization pharmacists can vaccinate against shingles, measles, pneumonia, and more. Staying up to date on your vaccines can keep you healthy and prevent diseases from affecting your family and your community. Visit your local Thrifty White Pharmacy. Our knowledgeable pharmacy staff is here to help determine which vaccines are right for you.
From the Fox Business Network on Wall Street, the major averages closing lower for a third consecutive session. Investors are concerned about slowing global economic growth and uncertainty about the outcome of continuing trade negotiations between the U.S. and China. With the Dow closing down 133 points, NASDAQ down 70, S&P 500 down 18. And the U.S. trade deficit hitting a record last year, despite the Trump administration's efforts to slap tariffs on imported goods to shrink the gap. The deficit in goods growing 10% last year. The widest on record. And Amazon closing down its pop-up shops. The e-commerce giant ending its year-long experiment and is shuttering 87 of its stores as the company works on its evolving bricks-and-mortar strategy. The closings are expected by the end of next month. Amazon is also expanding its bookstores as well as its so-called 4-star stores, which sell products rated 4 stars or higher by Amazon customers. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Hillary Barsky.
What gives one company the edge over another? Maybe it's not one thing. Maybe it's taking care of lots of things that help a business run smoothly. In other words, Cintas. Cintas has products that help your people stay safe and apparel programs that convey the right image. They service fire protection equipment, deliver and stock restroom supplies, and make sure facilities are clean and ready. Because when all those things work together, you're in business. Oh, I'm ready! Get Cintas and get ready for the workday.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Afternoon, I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Upgrades to Olson Park in Fort Dodge are in the works in the near future. Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierick talked about the next step in the process to improve the park yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
The next phase is to redo some parking, put up some fence in the area around the farm stuff is. Get work proceeding on where we're putting back in a little pond or a little water feature in there. One step in the multi-step process to get Olson Park improved.
Fierick says that some of the projects in the bond include improvements to the Blandon Art Museum, Fort Dodge Fire Department, and Harlan Rogers Sports Complex. Due to an unforeseen illness, the Devonshire show at the Wild Rose Casino and Resort in Emmitsburg for Saturday, March 9th has been postponed. Ticket holders can hold tickets to the postponed show, which will be announced shortly, or paid tickets can be refunded at the Iowa store or by calling 712-852-3400, extension number 4406. Iowa is considering new rules to limit school districts from using padded seclusion rooms to discipline children following a violent outburst. The Des Moines Register reports that the proposed changes seek to limit the frequency rooms are used and implement a better system to notify parents. The rules also seek new specifications for the wooden rooms, which are typically 6 by 6 foot. The ACLU of Iowa and Disability Rights Iowa helped draft the changes. They say some districts have used the rooms too frequently, particularly with students with disabilities and African Americans. School officials say they're concerned the rules are overly burdensome. The rooms have come under scrutiny in recent years. The State Department of Education determined in 2017 that the Iowa City Community School District improperly used the rooms. An Iowa House committee has voted to prohibit companies that manage prescription drug benefit plans from forcing patients to get their medications through the mail. Representative Brian Best, a Republican from Glidden, says he's seen mail-order company abuses.
I owned a durable medical equipment supply company, and I saw companies that would sell tons of CPAP devices. You go to somebody's closet, and their closet was literally full of things that they hadn't used. And I think sometimes with mail order, that can happen.
A representative of the state agency that manages Medicaid told lawmakers the state will likely have to spend more if mail order companies can't be used for any of the medications prescribed to Medicaid patients. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge, 4:35, 25 minutes before 5 o'clock. First of all, in the weather, it hasn't been a bad day temperature-wise. However, the wind continues, so we're going to have a wind chill factor temperature. Our high today was 27 degrees. Overnight, there's going to be, a little snow off and on, flurries, that sort of thing. So our low will be around 6 degrees. Wind chill factor temperatures, of course, will be around 5 to 10 degrees below zero. Tomorrow, some snow with a high of 20. Wind chill factor temperatures 5 below in there somewhere. On Friday, cloudy with a high of 31. Saturday, we're going to have kind of a crappy day. Snow and sleet and rain off and on all day. Kind of a weird day, frankly. Our high will be 35 degrees. On Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high of 31. On Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 29. On Tuesday, a chance of rain and snow, mostly cloudy with a high of 35. If we get that rain thing going on, we'll get rid of some of the snow. And, of course, we don't want all the snow that we got to melt too soon. That would be bad. 27 degrees right now at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South here in Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Merlin Hutchison has died at the age of 74. Hutch Hutchison has passed away at 74. There will be a celebration of his life Saturday at 10 o'clock here in town. Destiny Blaine Smith has passed away. Destiny Blaine Smith Downs, has died at the very young age of 22. There will be a celebration of the life of Destiny Blaine Smith, and that'll be Friday from 5 to 7 at the Salvation Army. Obituaries brought to you this hour by the historic Bruce's Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. The Webster County Conservation Officer is in the studio, Matt Cosgrove, and we'll talk with Matt more about some pending legislation that I have some questions about. And if you have questions about anything that you'd like to ask Matt Cosgrove about, it's 515-955-1400. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 437 and 27 degrees. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn down 3.5 at 362.5. May down 3 1/4 at 372.5. July down 3.5 at 381, and December corn down 2 1/4 at 395. March soybeans down 11.5 at 889 3/4. May down 11 3/4 at 902. July down 12 at 915 3/4, and November down 11.5 at 936 3/4. March wheat closed down 13 3/4 at 440.5. Soybean meal down 380 a ton at 301.80. April live cattle up 7 cents at 128.90. June down 22 at 119.62. March feeder cattle down 22 at 140.65. April down 75 at 143.65. April lean hogs down 82 cents at 57.05. May down 40 at $66. I'm Dwayne Murley.
When you were a teenager, your garage was the beginning of your rock and roll dreams. Later on, your garage was a place to store whatever didn't fit in the house. Then you got the car of your dreams. And that's not staying outside at night, no sir. That's where we come in.
P&R Entry Doors is your one-stop source for installation and repairs. As an official Midland garage door dealer, we have everything you need for any size garage in any situation. PNREntryDoors.com.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Elvis and Johnny are back. Alpha Media presents the Elvis and Johnny Tribute with Joseph Hall and Paul Eve. Don't miss Branson, Missouri Entertainer of the Year, Joseph Hall, officially recognized as one of the top Elvis tribute artists in the world, along with Johnny Cash impersonator Paul Eve. Friday night, March 29th in the Cardiff Center at Fort Frenzy.
I hear the train coming. It's rolling around the bend.
Doors open at 5:30 and the Elvis and Johnny Tribute starts at 7. Tickets are $25 in advance for $30 at the door. Get them now at Hy-Vee Fort Dodge, Fort Frenzy, the Iowa Outdoor Store, or here at our studios. Bring the whole family to see this tribute to the king of rock and roll and the man in black, as Joseph Hall and Paul Eve present the Elvis and Johnny Tribute. Friday night, March 29th at Fort Frenzy. Brought to you in part by Riley Armstrong Plumbing and Heating, the Iowa Outdoor Store, and Ball Plumbing Fort Dodge, Star Energy Manson, Mackey Motors Lake City, and United Bank of Iowa, Rockwell City, Pocahontas, and Fort Dodge. The Elvis and Johnny Tribute is an Alpha Media event.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
God, I envy how mindless your job is.
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 with Mayor Matt Bemrick.
Boss, man, top dog, big cheese, a head honcho.
Call now, 515-955-1400.
Actually, Mayor Bemrick will be here at this time tomorrow. Please feel free to call Mayor Bemrick at 515-955-1400 tomorrow between 4 and 5. Yeah. And by the way, you can use that number anytime with any of our guests, including Matt Cosgrove here. Matt is the Webster County Conservation Officer. How long have you been Conservation Officer, man?
Well, I've worked for the county for 23 years.
So... Young fellow like you, 23 years, eh?
It doesn't feel, it feels like a lot longer than that.
Wow. Well, we've been talking about a couple of bills that that Matt wanted to bring to our attention. Would you please give us the basics again? I know we talked about it last segment, but for those who might be just joining us.
Yeah, so there was a House File 542, which is dead, luckily, because of all the support that people took down to the State House on Monday and went to the committee meeting. There was probably, I would guess, in the neighborhood of 300 people there. I mean, the room, you couldn't fit another person in the committee room. Yeah. They probably let a dozen people speak, and everybody spoke, from farmers. There were some county conservation folks, Ducks Unlimited. There was a handful of people that spoke on behalf of.
And they,
of these bills.
in Ducks Unlimited and the farmers, what was their position?
Well, the farmers several of them have used these programs in the past, and were saying that taking away these abilities takes away their rights, their property rights, to be able to make these decisions. If they want to donate their property to the DNR, if they want to do water quality projects on their land and then sell it to a county conservation board, that's their prerogative. So it was taking that right away from them.
Now, let me get this straight. This bill wouldn't even allow a farmer to sell his farm or part of his ground to a county conservation commission?
The state dollars would not be allowed to be used.
State dollars would not be
used. Yeah. We would still be able to make purchases of land,
right,
but not with state dollars.
Oh, that's the deal. It would be on your end as a county, as a conservation group.
Yep.
You couldn't use state dollars to pay the farmer for the land.
Yeah. So again, that bill's died, luckily, because it had, it covered a lot of things. It was real far-reaching, overreaching, actually, in county, county government and that sort of thing, city government, all those. So fortunately, it's no longer. But Senate Study Bill 1221 did pass the subcommittee. 2-1 on party lines, and then passed the full Senate Natural Resource Committee yesterday, 8-5. So it moves forward, but it did get amended. So it took out that property tax piece we were talking about. So that would still be available. But it still talks mainly about that state revolving loan fund, not being able to use that for property acquisition as part of the watershed protection.
So, I'm beginning to think that this was just all about cutting expenses at every possible opportunity.
Well, if you're going to look at this tax credit and those, then you need to look at them all. So hopefully that we're not just singling out land acquisition. Hopefully, if we're going to be looking at tax credit, it's looking at all the tax credits. And
that's what Senator Kreinbrink always says when there's an argument or a disappointment about. I know that Governor Reynolds took a lot of heat last year about all the tax credits she gave to Apple, one of the wealthiest companies in the whole world. And Senator Kreinbrink said at the time, and even though I was one of the ones who wasn't too happy about all these tax credits for essentially a warehouse, he did have a point when we use tax credits over here, like, what am I trying to say? The tax credits we've used here in Fort Dodge.
TIF.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. He said you just can't say, well, that's fine over here, but not over here.
Right.
And he's got a point there.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, it's a balancing act because, in some of these lands that we purchase, how much are they actually paying on property tax on some river bottom timber or something like that floods? Are they getting more public benefit by able to open that up to a public hunting area and provide some water quality protection if they can do some wetland creation and do some things there? So, it's about balance and figuring out, are we getting our best bang for our buck through the tax, or are we better off getting the credit and providing these other public benefits rather than the small amount of tax dollars we could generate off that property?
Speaking of that, is there a lot of really public hunting ground in Webster County?
Yeah, there's a fair amount, actually. With Brushy Creek is, close to 6,000 acres, and a fair portion of that is public hunting. So that's DNR managed land there. And then Boone Forks Wildlife Area is another pretty good sized chunk. So, there you're probably talking at 10,000 plus acres of public hunting.
Where is that at?
Boone Forks starts at about the south end of Brushy Creek.
Okay.
Brushy Creek State Recreation Area. So that's our largest contiguous piece of public hunting area. The county manages a handful, probably in the neighborhood of 10 of our properties or more are probably public hunting areas. So typically when we purchase those properties, again, they're from a willing landowner. But
sure.
It's a broad funding source. So, Pheasants Forever locally is throwing in some money, and Ducks Unlimited might be throwing in some money. And then if we can offer those tax credits to a landowner, that just buys that cost down for us and allows them to be able to sell that property at a little bit lower cost.
So the worst part of this bill has been killed, which is good.
Yes.
Where are we at now? What are we looking at now for a bill?
So the Senate bill will move forward. It'll see the whole Senate, it'll see the Senate floor probably within the next week or so. So we're in funnel week. Nothing will probably happen this week, but next week, I would think there'll probably be action taken on that. Again, fortunately, due to the public outcry, when you talk to Senator Kreinbrink or any of them, they can tell you what kind of response they've seen from this. I think there were a lot of people that contacted them. I've heard from a lot of people. So, we're hearing, people don't want less places to recreate. They don't want less parks. They don't want less trails.
That's right.
So that's what we're trying to convey here. We certainly realize there has to be a balance. We know that we have to be able to afford these things. All the things have to have balance.
Well, the legislators in the cities and the counties have even got in their head that they should increase fees for everything as a way to raise revenue. I think we're kind of tapped out on that whole fee thing too. I don't know how much is a night of camping out at Kennedy, for example.
$22 a night.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
but that's for a full hookup. We've got different ranges for electricity or tent sites or whatever.
Right.
But
that you get 3 nights of that, and you have the family out there, and
right.
Yeah, that can add up pretty fast. And I don't know. There comes a time when there should be some state facility that we can just go enjoy, and not have to worry about all the fees and all these things.
Well, and Iowa is one of the few states that, our state parks, you don't have to pay a fee to use our state parks, where if you go to most states, you're going to pay an entrance fee just to get in the park.
Yeah, and I'd like to avoid that.
Right, yeah.
And that's a very good thing.
Years ago, I don't even remember what year it would have been. It would have been before I was even working in the conservation field. They instituted the park user fee.
Yeah.
And it lasted for like a year or two, and the public said, we do not want this. And
that's right. That's right. Call State Park. I grew up in going to Call State Park up there. It was a nice little park. It's just south of town there. And it has a shelter house and some picnic tables and a broad expanse. Some of the kids used to go up there to play Frisbee golf and all this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been open to the public for a long, long time. And I think maybe it was around the time you're talking about it. I know they tried to charge fees to get in there.
Didn't go well.
Didn't go well. It's nobody was buying it, and then all of a sudden, something that generations of people have had in that area, we're now going to be charged. No, they didn't like that at all. So in 2009, at least according to Iowa's Water and Land Legacy, there is a diverse coalition of farmers, sportsmen, women, and business owners coming together to fund the trust. Are we going to get this done or not?
That'll be a question you'll have to ask the legislators, and I'll be visiting with them next week when I'm down there for County Day. We continue to have this conversation annually, and I think we're making some progress on it. The tax increase is tough. And when I talk with Senator
3/8 of 1 cent.
I know it. So if you saw what happened yesterday in Des Moines, they passed a sales tax increase that of 1 cent, and a portion of it goes towards tax relief. The other portion of it goes towards some quality of life things, so they can do park improvements and those sort of things with it. So it's kind of the same concept here. If we could, this is the first 3/8. If it were a cent and you offered some property tax relief, or if you offered some tax relief and maybe some mental health funding as a package here, hopefully we can all be winners in this, in this situation. The trust fund is a game changer for Iowa. This is the largest piece of conservation legislation in my lifetime in Iowa.
This is the Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund.
Correct. It's so broad reaching. It's sustainable funding. It flows through existing sources, so you're not creating new bureaucracy during the process. So, it's I think well thought out. There was a diverse group that put this thing together, and again, it's a game changer for Iowa. So.
Well, again, if 63% of Iowa voters voted to create this Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund, 63% 9 years ago, and it hasn't gotten done yet.
Right.
Somebody should be asking about that. Somebody should be asking about this.
Yeah.
I think they got my attention now.
Well, good. That'll be a good conversation for you to have.
Well, I think so. I'll have our Senator Kreinbrink and Representative Meyer will be here on Friday. And
Great.
I always welcome them. It's been a while since we've seen Senator Kreinbrink.
Well, it's funnel week, so I know they're really busy. We have been talking a fair amount this week about these bills, and we're very fortunate in this area to have legislators that will listen. And we may not always agree on things, but They're common sense people that you can talk with, and that's not the case all over the state. But we're fortunate to have people that at least listen to you, and it's okay to disagree. But,
yeah, well, of course it is. Of course it's okay, but we shouldn't disagree with the popular will, especially when it's been so loudly stated as 63%.
Well, and the polling from this last year shows that if you pair that with tax relief as a portion of that increase, in the sales tax, then that goes up to over 70% and near 80% in popularity in polling, if you can offer some tax relief as part of that sales tax increase.
Yeah, we don't need, we don't need rule by a minority. I mean, even if it's an anti-tax minority, and there are those and I know some of them. I know some of the anti-tax guys, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
They feel very strongly, but they shouldn't be able to thwart through lobbying the popular will, especially when it's been so loudly stated that we want this. 63% want this, so let's get this done.
Yeah, I think we just got to get through a few of these hurdles. I think this land acquisition thing is one of the hangups because they don't want to see this additional money going. If this is new money, they don't want to see it going to a bunch of land acquisition. And, if you look at the intent of...
Is that their concern?
I think that's probably one of the big hangups right now and why it's not moving forward.
3-8%...
I'm afraid that, I think, and again, this is Matt Cosgrove's opinion. So,
right.
I think that there's some concern out there that if this funding source goes through and $180 million starts flowing into these existing sources, how much of it's going to go to land acquisition? And that's some concern, I think, to some people, especially that's why you're seeing legislation like this coming out, this week. So I think there's if you look at the intent of the program, this is really about putting dollars on the ground where we can improve Iowa's water quality. It's about providing, improving our park systems. It's really improving our overall conservation and recreation opportunities in the state of Iowa. So I think we just have to get over a few of these hurdles and hiccups of this land acquisition issue. Where's the money going to go? All that sort of thing. There's already a funding chart put in place. It's just a matter of getting through a few of these things, and hopefully we can eventually get this thing put into place and have it be the benefit to Iowa that Missouri has seen, that Minnesota has seen in their systems.
They
already have this tax in place in those states.
Okay. All right.
And have had for a long time, actually.
So what else do we need to know? We just have a minute or two here left.
I think that's it. Hopefully we're going to start seeing some things as toward the end of the session here. We hopefully don't see any more of these things attacking our public lands.
That wouldn't be good.
Yeah, we didn't like to see that this week. So hopefully we don't see any more of that. We just encourage people to continue to reach out to their legislators and talk to them about, what's important to them. And I know we had a lot of people from here, from what I heard the other day, talking to ours, as well as the committee that was making the decision yesterday. So I appreciate that. I would say from a Webster County standpoint, we're going to put a lot of focus into our youth education here and outdoor recreation stuff, because as you and I were talking, kids aren't spending time outdoors. So that's where we're going to spend a lot of our focus at.
Get rid of those damn video games.
Kids are spending 5 to 8 hours a day in front of a screen, and they're spending 4 to 7 minutes outside in unstructured play.
God, I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate
that's totally different from when we grew up.
That's
so right. The scary thing is we are potentially at the first generation that's grown up indoors, more than outdoors, and the first generation that might live shorter than their parents because of the lifestyle that they're leading, with increased diabetes, overweight, obesity, those sort of things in children.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so we're going to really focus a lot of our efforts there. We're not, trying to buy a bunch of land. We're going to focus our efforts on the youth.
Boy, time goes by so fast. You don't sometimes stop and understand or realize how many changes are taking place.
At some point, I'd love to come back and talk with you about that issue, the whole
not a problem.
Youth outdoors.
That's a great idea. Matt Cosgrove has been our guest. Thank you, Matt. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge.
Using technology to get the most out of every acre. Hello, I'm Megan Grebner with Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with the Climate Corporation. Farmers are using innovative digital tools to help make the best management decisions for their farm. In this Managing for Profit, Rick Myrup with the Climate Corporation talks about how the variable rate seeding tools in the Climate FieldView platform help farmers get the most out of every acre. We'll find out more on Brownfield right after this.
Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees.
We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Variable rate seeding tools use farmers' historical data and yield maps to consistently identify high and low productivity areas. Rick Myrup with the Climate Corporation says that information helps determine the best seed scripts for that field.
Our climate science team has worked diligently to analyze the response of increases in population by specific genetics in specific field environments to really understand how that's going to impact productivity at the end of the day.
He tells Brownfield variable rate seeding can offer farmers several benefits.
If you're maximizing by utilizing variable rate seeding, what you're doing is you're seeding at a greater degree in the most productive areas of the farm, and you're pulling back a little bit on areas where they maybe don't have as much yield potential as those other areas. What that can do is it can improve your yield opportunity by maximizing your placement throughout the field. You know, farmers that utilize advanced seed scripts have seen an average of a 5 bushel per acre increase compared to those that wrote their own scripts. So what that means is by leveraging the data science that's available through the FieldView platform, you're able to even improve beyond what you're able to do by yourself. The great thing about this is that it can happen really quickly. On average, it takes less than 6 minutes for you to be able to create in a script with advanced seed scripting in FieldView. And we give you the flexibility to be able to do that yourself, or work with your trusted advisor, dealer, or seed seller out there in the marketplace to coordinate and collaborate on that so that you can get the right seeding script for the right hybrid on the right acre.
Myrup says Seed Advisor is Climate Corporation's new predictive seed selection and placement technology for corn.
This is a tool that a dealer can use. They can look at their farmer customer's operation, the specific fields, the growing environments, and they can match up the best hybrids for those specific fields. And you can get a recommended seeding rate along with a variable rate script from Advanced Seed Scripts along with that to make sure that you're not just placing the right hybrid on the right field, but you're also planting that at the optimal density at a variable rate. This tool is something that over the 2018 growing season, we've tested on over 100,000 acres across Iowa, Illinois, and Minnesota. And what we've seen is that we've seen a yield benefit of 9.1 bushels per acre and nearly an 80% win rate when you utilize the Seed Advisor versus the choices that were being made on farm previously.
I'm Megan Grebner with Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with the Climate Corporation.
Thank you very much for listening. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, KVFD 4.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A shocking revelation. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A sitting senator claims she was sexually assaulted by a superior officer while in the Air Force. Fox's Jared Halpern with more live on Capitol Hill.
Arizona Republican Martha McSally was the first female Air Force pilot to fly in combat. She's also a survivor of sexual assault.
But unlike so many brave survivors, I didn't report being sexually assaulted. Like so many women and men, I didn't trust the system at the time.
During an Armed Services Committee hearing on sexual assault, McSally talked about being raped by a superior officer. She did not say when the assault occurred or name her attacker. An Air Force spokesperson says, "We are appalled and deeply sorry for what Senator McSally experienced and are steadfast in our commitment to eliminate this reprehensible behavior and breach of trust in our ranks." Lisa.
Jared, President Trump's former personal attorney Michael Cohen has wrapped up closed-door testimony before the House Intelligence Committee. Jeopardy host Alex Trebek with an announcement about his health.
This week, I was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Trebek says he will fight it and will continue to host the game show. He's facing allegations of sexual assault by singer R. Kelly, taken into custody for another reason. Fox's Gernal Scott has this live.
Lisa, R. Kelly appeared in a Chicago courtroom to answer to an issue of $161,000 in back child support. When it came out he couldn't pay it, the singer was taken away by police. His publicist, Daryl Johnson, says R. Kelly doesn't have that kind of money right now.
As you know, he hadn't worked in a long time. He can't book shows. He can't do anything. There's been a lot of things going on in Mr. Kelly's life.
That includes being charged with 10 counts of aggravated sex abuse last week. In an explosive TV interview aired today, he said those allegations weren't true, Lisa.
Thanks, Gernal. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For JD Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Afternoon, I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Upgrades to Olson Park in Fort Dodge are in the works in the near future. Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierick talked about the next step of the process to improve the park yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
The next phase is to redo some parking, put up some fencing, fence in the area around the farm stuff is. Get work proceeding on where we're putting back in a little pond or a little water feature in there. One step in the multi-step process to get Olson Park improved.
Fierick says that some of the projects in the bond include improvements to the Blandon Art Museum, Fort Dodge Fire Department, and Harlan Rogers Sports Complex. Due to an unforeseen illness, the Devonshire show at the Wild Rose Casino and Resort in Emmitsburg for Saturday, March 9th has been postponed. Ticket holders can hold tickets to the postponed show, which will be announced shortly, or paid tickets can be refunded at the Iowa store or by calling 712-852-3400, extension number 4406. Iowa is considering new rules to limit school districts from using padded seclusion rooms to discipline children following a violent outburst. The Des Moines Register reports that the proposed changes seek to limit the frequency rooms are used and implement a better system to notify parents. The rules also seek new specifications for the wooden rooms, which are typically 6 by 6 foot. The ACLU of Iowa and Disability Rights Iowa helped draft the changes. They say some districts have used the rooms too frequently, particularly with students with disabilities and African Americans. School officials say they're concerned the rules are overly burdensome. The rooms have come under scrutiny in recent years. The State Department of Education determined in 2017 that the Iowa City Community School District improperly used the rooms. An Iowa House committee has voted to prohibit companies that manage prescription drug benefit plans from forcing patients to get their medications through the mail. Representative Brian Best, a Republican from Glidden, says he's seen mail order company abuses.
I owned a durable medical equipment supply company, and I saw companies that would sell tons of CPAP devices. You go to somebody's closet, and their closet was literally full of things that they hadn't used. And I think sometimes with mail order, that can happen.
A representative of the state agency that manages Medicaid told lawmakers the state will likely have to spend more if mail order companies can't be used for any of the medications prescribed to Medicaid patients. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Overcast skies tonight with a chance of snow. Lows level off around 6 above. North winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Snow likely again tomorrow. Highs around 20. Cloudy skies. Cloudy tomorrow night. Snow likely 15. 2 to 4 inches of snow tomorrow through Saturday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm staff meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 27 degrees.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studio, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I am Dave Ramsey, your host. Thank you for joining us. Open phones at 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Jason is in Rockford, Illinois, starting this hour. Hi, Jason. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate talking to you.
Sure. What's up, man?
Well, I wanted to tell you, I was a federal employee for a year and a half when the shutdown happened. So the first time in working for 25 years, I'm not promised a paycheck. And because that emergency fund, the crisis, I wouldn't even say was an inconvenience. We barely even noticed it.
Wow. Good for you, man. Well done.
At work, everybody's looking for 0% loans from banks all over, and everybody's kind of worried about stuff. And the other funny thing is that some of the people at work are asking me, they're more concerned about the condition of my car than I am out in the parking lot, because I got the money in the bank and I'm in the car. So I appreciate that.
Good for you. Good for you, man. How can I help today?
Well, I got the debt paid off, fully funded emergency fund, got money going into TSP. But my question is, I plan on transferring with my job a few more times over the years. It's probably not going to make sense to buy a home and build equity. But besides renting cheap and socking money away, is there anything else I can do in that area of wealth building?
That's all I would do. Is I would have a little mutual fund over to the side that is my house fund, and I'm just going to keep chunking money in it, to the idea that maybe, depending on how long this constant transferring goes on, maybe at the end of it, you just write a check and buy a house when you know you're settled.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, just use just a good mutual fund and just sock it away. That's what I would do if I were in your shoes. How often are you moving?
Well, I plan on 2 moves about 2 to 3 years apart at least. After that, we might settle down, but it's not going to be for a few years.
Okay. So you may have another decade of this.
Yeah, close to it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, I'm with you. Very few places do the houses go up in value fast enough and sell fast enough to buy a home, and it makes sense on a 2 or 3 year turn. A few places it does, because they're just white hot, But most places you're going to be better off to rent super cheap and then just throw as much money as you can throw in a side mutual fund, with the idea that's kind of your baby step 3B, but now it becomes 6. You're saving up for, what would have been your down payment, but now in addition to that, you're saving up to buy the house at the end of this transfer merry-go-round that you're on. So cool. Well, Jason, I'm glad you're winning, man. Proud of you. Very well done. James is with us in Memphis, Tennessee. Hi, James. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate your ministry. My wife and I have been following it for a while, and we've paid off. Gosh, man, we paid off about $85,000 in about 17 months. So we've really been, depriving ourselves.
Good for you.
We appreciate your ministry.
Good for you. Well done.
I got a little situation here with our church that we go to. It's the one that we took FPU in, and we love the church, we love the pastor, love the people. But based on the biblical principles that you teach in FPU and all that, our church is, I guess, about to take out a massive loan on a building fund. And is this hypocritical, or are we talking out of both sides of our mouth, or am I reading too much into this?
Well, I've got a lot of good friends that borrow money on all kinds of different things. I'm positive, after studying it for 30 years, that there's no time in Scripture that says borrowing money is a sin, nor does it say borrowing money is a salvation issue. But 100% of the references to debt in the Bible are negative.
Right.
You're a fool. You're a slave. And so it hurts me when the bride of Christ chooses to go into chains, the chains of slavery. But sometimes what happens is the church board looks more like the Chamber of Commerce than a group of theologians. So there's a car dealer, a whole life salesman, and a banker all sitting on the church board. And of course, they all believe in borrowing money. And they can somehow rationalize it, but they can't find it in the Bible. So I'm pretty graceful with people. I mean, I went to a church for years that had debt. The church I currently go to was a merger, and when they merged, there was $7.5 million worth of debt laying there, and they paid it off in 14 months. So they went on a campaign to pay it off. But I didn't leave the other place because they had debt. That was not the deal breaker for me. If I feel like the people are being irresponsible or arrogant or something else, I might leave because of that, and it might be reflected in this story, but it wouldn't simply be because they borrowed money. So if you love everything else about the place and you can extend them some grace, I think they're wrong. You think they're wrong, but I know a lot of people that I think are wrong, and I still like them.
True.
You know, and
so would it make I guess in a sense make my wife and I a hypocrite as well, as long, you know, if we're totally bought in to paying off all of our debt and we're truly on board with, you know, being financially secure, going through your principles, but yet we're still attending a church that's constantly going into debt, which they are about to do. Would that, in a sense, make us be a hypocrite as well?
No, I don't think it makes you a hypocrite. It you know, but it leaves a, you know, there's a mark on this. It bothers you, or you wouldn't have called me, you know? So, you know, but I just told you, Dave Ramsey, went to a church that had debt, and I paid my tithes there. So some of that tithe money went to pay interest to a freaking bank. Does that make me a hypocrite? No, because I'm just extending grace over it. I can't tell everybody what to do. I can only convince people to do smart things that want to be convinced, and that includes pastors. And so, you know, I talk them out of it if I can, but I've got friends that run big churches and they go into debt all the time. And I just think they're dumb. I don't think it's biblical, but I don't think they're going to hell for it. And I'm not going to be mad, and I'm not a hypocrite by still being a friend with them. And you're not a hypocrite for still going there. I don't think that's the case, but I think there's other stuff going on when I start to believe that someone is not faithful and not wise in areas of decision making. Debt could be one, but then if I start to see it in other areas too, now I've got a pattern, not of debt that causes me to be a hypocrite, but I got a pattern of unwise decision making and leadership. And if there's a pattern of that, that's a reason to leave a church.
Gotcha. Okay.
But one deal,
all right, brother, I do appreciate it.
If one thing breaks the camel's back at a church, you'll never stay in a church, because there's always somebody doing something you're going to disagree with. It's part of church. It's a problem of church. There's people there. Yeah, so I wouldn't leave over just that. I didn't. I just told you. So I wouldn't tell you to do something different than I've done. You can extend a little grace. I am going to try to have influence and try to stop this train before it runs off the track. I did that at the other place. I tried to have some influence. I didn't throw my weight around, but I tried to have some persuasion. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. One Dental is a company I've been telling my listeners about because I know these guys will save you money at the dentist. One Dental is a dental savings program that allows you to go to one of over 158,000 dental practice locations nationwide and save on things like cleanings, dentures, root canals, crowns, and even orthodontics. Here's the really cool part. You can join One Dental right now, and you don't have to worry about high deductibles, waiting periods, or pre-existing conditions. Just find your highly qualified dentist in the network, make the appointment, and start saving every time you go to the dentist. This is a great cost-saving alternative to expensive dental services and a great alternative to costly dental insurance. It really is that simple. And unless you want to blow your emergency fund, everyone needs to go to the dentist. Folks, this is a no-brainer. Join today at onedental.com. That's onedental.com.
Let's get real for a minute. Paying off debt isn't easy. If you're looking for extra money to pour into your debt snowball, do yourself a favor and switch your cell phone provider to Pure Talk USA. The same great coverage for half the price. That's right, half the price of other brands. Try it risk-free today. Visit puretalkusa.com or call 844-862-3677 to see how much you can save. Enter promo code radio and receive 50% off your first month. That's puretalkusa.com, promo code radio.
Are your finances out of control? Is the paycheck to paycheck life leaving you feeling panicked and insecure? Well, you're not alone. This spring, join me, Chris Hogan, Dave Ramsey, and Anthony O'Neill as we hit the road with our Smart Money Tour. At these one-night events, you'll learn the plan that has helped over 5 million people get out of debt, build wealth, and retire with dignity. Taking control of your money is easier than you think, and we'll show you how. Just visit DaveRamsey.com to find an event in your area and reserve your Smart Money seats today.
Radio Iowa. I'm Dar Danielson. The 2018 Iowa Youth Survey shows about 10% of Iowa's 6th, 8th, and 11th graders reported they made a plan to kill themselves in the past year. Survey director says that increase from 2012 is alarming. Department of Public Health spokesman Garen Buttermore says the survey also shows vaping is increasing.
That has taken hold. Young people aren't interested in, quote, air quotes here, smoking.
He says health officials are working to educate youth about the harmful chemicals e-cigarettes produce. Democrat State Representative Amy Nielsen of North Liberty has asked the Public Information Board to intervene after she tried for 6 months to get records showing how many sexual harassment complaints have been filed by state employees. She says she's not looking for names.
Numbers would in no way, shape, or form actually be able to be used to identify someone individually.
The spokesman for the governor says Nielsen is asking for sensitive information that could compromise the confidentiality of employees. That's your news on Radio Iowa. Find out more online at radioiowa.com. I'm Dar Danielson.
Sweet strawberry icing. You were strolling along in Goodwill when just past that mid-century side table and denim jacket you spotted them, nestled in their display case. Miniature donut earrings. Oh, yes! Yes! Your favorite half-breakfast pastry, half-all-day dessert food, made into your favorite form of ear candy. Oh my. Those bejeweled sprinkles have satisfied some unknown hunger within you. Shh, do you smell that? That's the sugary scent of shopping success. For this is Goodwill. And with every item you buy, you fund local job training and more. So go forth. Bring home those donut earrings. And bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill.
Thanks for joining us, America. We're glad you're here. Do you know the average graduate leaves college with $39,000 of student loan debt? That's like 40 grand. This is why we created the Graduate Survival Guide for graduating high school seniors. The Graduate Survival Guide. 5 mistakes you cannot afford to make in college. It's the perfect gift for your college-bound grad. The book, the video you wish you had before you went to college. On sale right now for $18.99 by Anthony O'Neill and Rachel Cruz. The Graduate Survival Guide unpacks these 5 most common mistakes that college students make and teaches them how to handle money the right way. It's an investment in a college-bound graduate's future. The Graduate's Survival Guide. And you can upgrade to our exclusive College 101 bundle for just $27.99. You can call us at 888-22-PEACE. Call the Ramsey Concierge at 888-227-3223 or jump online at daveramsey.com and just check the store. The sale is on now. Graduation time is coming fast. Eric's with us in Los Angeles. Hi, Eric. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
How you doing, Dave?
Better than I deserve. What's up in your world?
Hey, so I need to know where should I start first? So I'm a new listener. I've been listening for about 2-3 weeks, and I need to know whether to start with the Every Dollar budget app or the Baby Steps.
Okay. Well, we're going to do them both because it's interlocking fingers. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the Every Dollar budget. and load that on your phone or on your computer. And you can get it on any of those app stores that are out there. It's everywhere. It's completely free. But the whole idea is this: if you give every dollar an assignment before the month begins, every month, you're going to feel like you got a raise, because you're going to go, where's all this dadgum money going?
Man.
You know, when you actually lay it down, you go, okay, here's what I really spend on food. Here's what I spend on lights and water. Here's what my rent is. Here's what my car payment is. Where's it going? And you're going to, you know, because we all waste money, but when you don't have a plan, you waste more. That's what it comes down to.